The world is wounded. It is the end of an age. The close of the Triassic period, a deep and silent catastrophe has just scoured the planet. More than 70% of all vertebrate species on land have simply vanished. The Earth, once a vibrant experiment of early reptiles and giant amphibians, now smoulders. It lies quiet beneath a sky tinted with volcanic ash. The air itself tastes of sulfur and fire. A strange, unnatural silence hangs over the scorched forests and empty plains. This was not the first mass extinction, but for a small group of survivors it would be the most important. It was the event that cleared the stage. Scientists now point to a colossal suspect, a vast volcanic event known as the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province. For hundreds of thousands of years, fissures in the Earth's crust bled fire. Lava poured out across the breaking supercontinent of Pangea, but the real killer was invisible. Vast choking clouds of carbon dioxide flooded the atmosphere. The climate did not just shift, it shattered. Oxygen levels in the oceans plummeted. Acid rain, corrosive and relentless, poured from the sky for generations. Ecosystems that had been stable for millions of years collapsed. They fell apart in what was geologically a single heartbeat. The planet reset itself. In this fragile, wounded moment, the Earth held its breath. A void had been created. An opportunity born from devastation. Among the few survivors were small, agile creatures. They walked on two legs, their bodies held parallel to the ground. They were warm-blooded, a furnace burning within them against the coming cold. They were fast, alert, and they were different. These were the ancestors of the dinosaurs. They were not yet rulers, they were merely the ones who endured. In the late Triassic, just before the cataclysm, dinosaurs were a minor group. They were not the dominant force. They shared a world with giant, crocodile-like phytosaurs and heavily built atasaurs. It was only after the Great Dying swept their competitors away that the dinosaurs rose. These early pioneers were small and lightweight. Some, like Coelophysis, could run with astonishing speed. Coelophysis roamed the riverbeds of what is now North America. Its bones were hollow like a bird's. It had sharp, serrated teeth and keen senses. It was a sign of the deadly grace that was to come. While life struggled to recover, the Earth's crust continued to move. Pangea, the single great landmass, was groaning under the strain. The supercontinent began to slowly, unstoppably split apart. As the land cracked and spread, new coastlines formed. Shallow seas began to creep inland. This fragmentation created new ecological niches, isolated pockets where life could experiment. The world was becoming more complex. And this complexity fueled diversification. As the ash settled, plants began their slow recovery. Hardy ferns and ancient conifers were the first to reclaim the land. They would become the foundation of new ecosystems. The dinosaurs that fed on them evolved in response. Necks grew longer to reach higher branches. Stomachs became larger to digest tough plant matter. Limbs grew stronger to support greater weight. While this happened on land, the oceans remained in turmoil. The Triassic extinction had devastated marine life. Coral reefs bleached and died. Ancient marine reptiles and shelled ammonites suffered heavy losses. But life, as it always does, finds a way. Beneath the waves, the ichthyosaurs began to thrive once more. These were reptiles that had returned to the sea, their bodies shaped like dolphins. Their eyes were enormous, some the size of dinner plates built to see in the deep, dark water. Their return signaled a healing of the oceans. On land, the climate fluctuated wildly. Regions that were once tropical became arid deserts. Dry seasons stretched into years, then decades. But life persisted. With each generation, dinosaurs grew larger and more diverse. Insects returned in buzzing, clicking swarms. Giant dragonflies with intricate wings darted through the fern groves. Beetles burrowed into fallen logs, recycling death into life. These insects pollinated the first conifers. They fed the smallest creatures, and those small creatures in turn fed the rising dinosaurs. Evolution works through trial and error. In this time of global rebuilding, it worked at astonishing speed. Within a few million years, dozens of new dinosaur species had emerged. Some vanished just as quickly evolutionary dead ends. Others laid the foundation for the giants of the future. Even our own ancestors were present. Small, shy, nocturnal mammals. They lived in the shadows, in burrows, in the hollows of trees. They were not the rulers, not yet. Their time would come, but it was over 150 million years away. They would wait, patiently surviving on insects and seeds. They would watch the world being rebuilt by new masters. Meanwhile, the early Jurassic period loomed. The world was warming again. The frantic climate shifts began to stabilize. Lush green vegetation started to cover the land. The skies cleared and the oceans calmed, and the dinosaurs grew. They adapted to every environment imaginable, from the banks of winding rivers to the dry open plains, from volcanic highlands to ancient muddy deltas. Each habitat gave rise to different forms. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4. Some hunted in coordinated packs. Others grazed in vast, slow-moving herds. They were no longer just survivors clinging to existence. They were becoming explorers, pioneers, engineers of entire ecosystems. They influenced every part of their environment, from the soil to the treetops. The fall of the Triassic empires was not loud. The age of dinosaurs began not with a triumphant roar, but with cautious, deliberate steps. Every footfall across the muddy ground marked the slow reclaiming of a world that had been nearly lost. This was not yet the age of Tyrannosaurus rex. It was not yet the era of colossal sauropods, whose steps shook the earth, but it was the spark. It was the beginning of a dynasty that would last for 150 million years. As the earth turned and the sun rose over the new Jurassic horizon, it shone down on creatures that had seized an opportunity born from fire, acid, and darkness. They would grow taller, stronger, and more varied than anything the world had ever seen before. The earth had chosen its new rulers. The age of dinosaur domination had just begun. As the Jurassic period truly begins, the earth awakens. The chaos of the great dying is fading into memory. The scars of destruction still linger on the landscape, but life is no longer hiding. It is expanding, adapting, evolving. The planet is healing, and with each sunrise it becomes more vibrant. This is a world of profound change. Pangea is starting to rift apart in earnest now. Its immense landmass is slowly stretching, cracking under the strain of forces from deep within the planet. From this tectonic tearing comes the birth of new continents. Shallow seas begin to invade the interior, creating vast, warm waterways. Coastlines form where none existed for millions of years. Massive volcanic regions rise, shaping not just the land, but the atmosphere itself. In this evolving environment, dinosaurs begin to truly dominate. They are no longer fringe survivors. They are the architects of a new world order. At first, their presence is modest. Species like Saurosaurus and Scutellosaurus are small, but they are quick. They occupy the roles of agile hunters and nimble plant eaters. They scurry across vast floodplains and dart between the trunks of giant conifers. They are not yet giants, but they are the builders of the future. The early Jurassic climate is warm and moist. Rainfall is common across much of the globe. Lush forests of ferns, cycads, and ginkgo trees blanket the land. This fertile landscape offers safety and sustenance. It encourages life to flourish in every possible direction. The herbivores thrive first. Species like Heterodontosaurus develop complex teeth. These are not simple pegs for tearing. They are specialized tools that allow them to grind tough plants. Their sharp beaks snip at fern fronds and low-growing shrubs. In turn, these small herbivores become prey for nimble predators. Predators such as Dilophosaurus rise to the challenge. Slender and fast, with 2 distinctive thin crests on its head, Dilophosaurus is among the first large carnivores of the Jurassic. It moves with a newfound confidence, hunting both alone and in small groups. It is built not just for speed, but for strategy. These dinosaurs reshape the food web. For the first time in Earth's history, terrestrial ecosystems are centered around dinosaur activity. They dictate where herds travel. They influence where certain plants can take root. They determine where scavengers gather after a kill. The dawn of the Jurassic also witnesses the first major radiation of the sauropodomorphs. These are the ancestors of the later sauropod giants. They begin to stretch in both size and behavior. Species like Plateosaurus and Ankylosaurus grow longer necks and bulkier bodies. They feed on high branches, outcompeting smaller herbivores. Their growth is not only a biological achievement, It is an ecological revolution. By browsing at heights unreachable to others, they unlock new levels of the food chain. They become living machines. They process vast amounts of plant material. They fertilize the ground with their waste, enriching the soil for new growth. Dinosaurs begin to fill every conceivable role. They are browsers and grazers. They are runners and jumpers. They are stalkers and ambushers. They inhabit forests, floodplains, deserts, and coastal regions. Their diversity becomes the signature of the Jurassic era, yet they are not alone. The world is still populated by other strange creatures. Early crocodile ancestors like Protosuchus hunt along the riverbanks. Early turtles with shells not yet fully fused paddle through freshwater pools. Giant amphibians, remnants of a forgotten world, lurk in the swampy shadows. In the skies above, change is also unfolding. The first true pterosaurs glide through the air. Dimorphodon, with its large head and long membranous wings, clings to cliff sides. It swoops over canyons, its sharp teeth ready to snatch insects or small lizards. It is not a dinosaur, but it shares the stage in this grand evolutionary theatre. On the forest floor, small feathered creatures begin to emerge. They are not yet birds, but they hint at what is to come. Their feathers are not for flight. Not yet. They are for warmth, for display, for camouflage. This simple innovation on modified scale will one day reshape the course of evolution. The mammals still exist, but they remain hidden. They are nocturnal, burrowing, and cautious. They avoid open spaces during the day. They survive by staying out of sight, a strategy they will maintain for another 100 million years. As the Jurassic progresses, the scale of the dinosaurs increases dramatically. The first true sauropods appear. Creatures like Vulcanodon and Barapasaurus grow to lengths that were unimaginable in the Triassic. Their size defies the known limits of bone and muscle. They reshape the very terrain they walk on. Each step from these behemoths compacts the soil. Their feeding habits sculpt the vegetation, clearing paths through dense forests. Their herds migrate with the seasons. They create pathways that will last for generations, etched into the landscape. Alongside them, predators adapt in kind. Megalosaurus and Ceratosaurus evolve into faster, stronger, more intelligent hunters. They develop better vision. They have more powerful jaws. They use complex hunting strategies. The great evolutionary arms race between predator and prey begins. With every defensive advantage a herbivore develops, the carnivores respond. Armor plating appears on some. Spiked tails evolve on others. Keen hearing and explosive speed become common survival tools. Dinosaurs become masters of their environment, and the world itself adapts to them. Storms sweep across the vast inland seas. Rivers flood and shift their course. Fire periodically rips through the ancient forests. But the dinosaurs endure. They are built to handle a dynamic, changing planet. By now, Pangea's split is more pronounced. As the continents drift apart, isolated populations of dinosaurs begin to evolve independently. This geographic separation leads to even greater diversity. In what will become North America, one set of species dominates. In what will become Africa or Asia, entirely different lineages begin to appear. Evolution thrives on separation. The Jurassic world is fragmenting perfectly for innovation. Some dinosaurs grow horns, others grow frills. Some evolve into coordinated pack hunters, others become massive solitary titans. The ecosystem becomes more layered, more detailed, more alive. Life now pulses with a distinct rhythm. Migrations follow the patterns of rainfall. Nesting seasons align with lunar cycles. Predator movements match the density of prey. This is not chaos. It is a complex and beautiful orchestration. A global concert of life conducted by dinosaurs. At this stage in history, dinosaurs are no longer passengers on the planet. They are its engineers, its architects, its undisputed rulers. They have come a long way from the scrappy survivors of the Triassic extinction, and yet their journey is just beginning. In the next chapter of the Jurassic dinosaurs will reach sizes never seen before or since. The oceans will fill with leviathans, the skies will shimmer with feathered gliders. The story of their domination will move toward its climax. But for now, in the warmth of the early Jurassic sun, dinosaurs have claimed their world. The reshaped Earth belongs to them, and for a time it seems as if nothing can stand in their way. The land that once formed a single vast supercontinent is no longer whole. Pangea, the mighty landmass that united nearly all of Earth's continents, begins to fracture. Invisible forces deep beneath the planet's crust are tearing it apart. Slowly, over millions of years, vast rifts open up in the ground. Molten rock rises from the mantle below. Vast volcanic regions erupt, creating new oceans between the drifting lands. As the pieces of Pangea drift away from one another, they carry with them the future of evolution. This continental breakup will shape the destiny of every dinosaur. It will decide who thrives, who changes, and who vanishes. As the landmasses split, new coastlines emerge. Climates shift dramatically. Ocean currents, the planet's great heat engines, change direction. Regions once connected by lush forests become divided by impassable seas. And with every mile that the continents drift, dinosaur species are isolated from one another. This isolation is the engine of diversity. Populations that were once unified are now split apart forever. Some find themselves living in dry, scorching deserts. Others adapt to wet tropical rainforests. In time, they change. They grow horns, feathers, armor, or frills. They develop new ways of feeding, of fighting, of surviving. In what will one day become Africa, massive sauropods dominate the landscape. Creatures like Jobaria and Spinophorosaurus evolve into towering plant eaters. They have elongated necks and enormous barrel-shaped bodies. They roam in vast herds across the floodplains, consuming tons of vegetation each day. In what will become North America, different giants appear. Camarasaurus, Diplodocus, and Apatosaurus grow even longer and heavier. Their bones are hollowed out by air sacs, a brilliant evolutionary trick. This innovation supports their massive size without letting them collapse under their own weight. Their long necks sweep across ancient fern fields like living cranes. Meanwhile, in what will become Europe, the land fragments into a chain of islands. Here, evolution takes a strange and fascinating turn. On these isolated islands with limited food and space, dwarf species evolve. Small sauropods and miniaturized carnivores inhabit these tight spaces, adapting to island life. In South America, isolation gives rise to fierce and unique predators. Theropods like Abelisaurus and later Carnotaurus evolve with short snouts, tiny arms, and powerful jaws. They stalk their prey across humid plains, relying on ambush and brute strength. They are a separate dynasty of killers unrelated to the allosaurs of the north. Australia and Antarctica, still connected, begin their slow journey toward the South Pole. The climate here becomes cooler with long periods of seasonal darkness. Dinosaurs in these regions adapt to lower light and limited food supplies. They develop larger eyes and perhaps slower metabolisms to conserve energy. In Asia, new predators emerge with surprisingly advanced features. The ancestors of the raptors begin to appear. They are smaller, faster, and more intelligent than many of their contemporaries. Their feet are built for gripping. Their claws are shaped for slashing. They are a new breed of hunter. The drifting continents do more than just divide the land. They reshape the atmosphere. Massive volcanic eruptions linked to the continental rifting release immense amounts of carbon dioxide into the sky. Global temperatures rise. The climate becomes unstable and unpredictable. Ice is completely absent from the poles. The entire Earth becomes a humid, steamy greenhouse. Rising sea levels flood low-lying areas. Shallow marine habitats explode with life. Vast coral reefs expand across the tropics. Ammonites, the shelled relatives of modern squid, diversify into thousands of new forms. The marine reptiles grow larger and more numerous. The seas between the continents become highways for oceanic giants. Plesiosaurs, with their impossibly long necks and powerful flippers, glide through the warm water. Ichthyosaurs, with their torpedo-shaped bodies, hunt in coordinated pods. Continental drift also causes immense geological stress. Earthquakes become more frequent. Volcanoes shape entire regions, burying landscapes in ash and lava. Tectonic collisions begin to form new mountain chains. Habitats are destroyed and rebuilt again and again. This turmoil, however, only fuels evolution. Dinosaurs are not just surviving this global rearrangement. They are thriving because of it. Each new continent becomes a separate laboratory for natural selection. Predator and prey co-evolve in a relentless arms race. Herbivores grow tougher skin or longer horns. Predators develop sharper teeth or better eyesight. Some dinosaurs grow spines and sails on their backs to regulate their body heat. Others evolve tail clubs and elaborate head crests for communication or combat. The splitting of Pangea changes more than just geography. It changes time itself. Days on Earth grow shorter as the planet spins slightly faster. Years become longer as the moon slowly drifts away from the Earth. Gravity and tides adjust in subtle ways. All of this quietly influences the rhythms of life on the planet. With every inch the continents drift apart, the identity of the dinosaurs deepens. They are no longer just a class of reptiles. They are now a global phenomenon. They are adaptable, powerful, and utterly dominant. Air currents shift along with the continents. Powerful monsoons strike inland regions. Dry seasons stretch longer in arid zones. Dinosaur migrations follow these new climatic patterns. They move with the rains. They give birth in times of plenty. They die in devastating droughts. These changing conditions make dinosaurs smarter, more coordinated, and more social. Some form tight-knit herds for protection. Others use complex vocalizations to communicate over long distances. They raise their young with care. They defend their territory with teamwork. The splitting world creates pockets of innovation, and in those pockets, new and stranger forms of life rise. Armored stegosaurs appear with their iconic plates and tail spikes to deter attackers. Massive carnivores grow feathers not for flight but for display and thermoregulation. Continental drift also affects the skies. The early pterosaurs evolve into dozens of new forms. Some soar high over the oceans diving for fish. Others stalk the inland rivers. Their wingspans stretch wider than any bird alive today. The Earth has become a dynamic mosaic. No longer a single landmass, but a complex network of biomes, climates, and evolutionary theatres. Dinosaurs, once regional survivors, have now become planetary rulers. From the deserts of ancient Africa to the swamps of Proto-Asia, they walk every corner of the globe, and they are still changing. Continental drift is not just a backdrop to their story, it is the very force that molds their future. It will decide which species will rise and which will fall. As the Jurassic marches forward, dinosaurs adapt to a world in constant motion. And in doing so, they become more than survivors. They become legends written across the shifting face of the Earth. As the Jurassic period settles into its middle phase, the Earth enters a golden age of life. The destruction of the past has given way to renewal. A new stable climate now takes hold across the globe. Volcanic activity still rumbles across the continents, but instead of devastation, it now enriches the soil with minerals. Carbon dioxide levels remain high, creating a warm and humid atmosphere. There are no ice caps. Tropical conditions stretch from pole to pole. This is a world in which life flourishes. Dense forests of conifers, cycads, and ginkgo trees dominate the landscape. Beneath them, ferns spread like vast green carpets, creating lush ground cover across immense plains. The oxygen-rich air feeds the growth of plants in every corner of the planet. This explosion of greenery becomes the fuel for giants. Herbivorous dinosaurs, now fully established across all continents, grow to enormous sizes. They feed endlessly, stripping trees bare and leaving trampled trails behind them. Their grazing patterns influence the growth of vegetation, just as elephants and bison would do millions of years later. Species like Apatosaurus and Camarasaurus graze in large herds. Their massive bodies sweep through the forests like living bulldozers. Their long necks allow them to reach both high branches and low shrubs without moving their bulk. Every part of their anatomy is adapted to maximize energy intake and efficiency. These massive herbivores are not solitary creatures. They move in groups. They raise their young together. They migrate in response to seasonal changes in vegetation, and in doing so they shape the very fabric of the landscape. The dinosaurs' movement breaks new paths for water to flow. Their droppings fertilize the land on an industrial scale. Their presence alone determines which plant species survive and which ones are consumed into extinction. Where there are herbivores, predators follow. Allosaurus emerges as the apex predator of the mid-Jurassic. It is swift, powerful, and intelligent. Its skull is light but remarkably strong. Its teeth are serrated like steak knives designed for slicing through flesh. Allosaurus does not simply chase its prey. It plans, it watches, it waits. Pack behavior is strongly suspected among these predators. Cooperation gives them a crucial advantage against prey much larger than themselves. They may have coordinated ambushes or driven herds into natural traps. Fossil evidence from group kill sites suggests a social dynamic far more complex than was once believed. But Allosaurus is not alone. Megalosaurus, Ceratosaurus, and smaller, more agile hunters fill different ecological roles. Some focus on young or weak prey. Others are primarily scavengers. Each species has carved out its own place in the ecosystem. Amidst these giants, smaller creatures find shelter. Stegosaurs roam under the shadows of the sauropods. With their double row of bony plates and dangerous tail spikes, they are built for defense. Their small brains contrast with their massive bodies, but they survive through instinct and formidable armor. The first ankylosaurs begin to appear. Their bodies are low to the ground, heavily armored and built like living tanks. Their skin is covered in thick bony nodules called osteoderms. Their tails grow stiff and club-like. These creatures do not flee from danger. They stand their ground, an almost impenetrable fortress of bone. The skies above teem with flying reptiles. Pterosaurs have diversified into many new forms. Species like Rhamphorhynchus glide over lakes and rivers. Their long, stiff tails act as stabilizers. They dive for fish nest in high cliffs and live along the vibrant riverways. Insects buzz through the air in growing numbers. Dragonflies with wingspans the length of a human arm dart through the ferns. Beetles burrow into dead wood, recycling nutrients. Early flies and wasps pollinate the first cone-bearing plants. And within the deep foliage, something strange and wonderful is happening. Small feathered dinosaurs begin to emerge. Their feathers are not for flight, but for warmth, camouflage, and mating displays. Some may use their feathered arms to glide for short distances between trees. Others flap to maintain balance while running or to intimidate rivals. Species like Compsognathus represent this transition. They are light, fast, and clever. They are unlike the massive beasts that lumber around them. They move in quick bursts, darting between the shadows, hunting insects or small vertebrates. This Middle Jurassic period is not just the age of giants. It is the age of ecological layering. Every ecosystem is complex. Rivers support amphibians and fish. Forests offer shelter and nesting grounds. Lakes become bustling hubs of activity. The high canopies hold pterosaurs and the ancestors of birds. The forest floor teems with life unseen by the titans above. Storms roll through frequently. Lightning ignites dry brush. Wildfires race through the undergrowth, clearing out old growth and making way for new plants. The cycle of destruction and renewal continues. Dinosaurs adapt to every challenge. In droughts, they dig for water or migrate to greener lands. In floods, they seek higher ground. Their feet are padded for walking on soft earth. Their nostrils are raised for breathing while wading. Their lungs are more efficient than any reptile that came before them. The climate is not static. It pulses with warmth, rain, and movement. It rewards flexibility and punishes fragility. Those that survive this age do so not by brute strength alone, but by understanding its rhythm by moving with the earth. As the Jurassic continues, life becomes more specialized. Predators are no longer generalists. They evolve to hunt specific types of prey. Herbivores develop unique defenses tailored to their specific threats. Even plants evolve toxins or tough fibrous leaves to deter being eaten. Evolution has become a grand chess game. Move by move, adaptation by adaptation, species rise and fall. And the world in its rich diversity becomes a theatre of life, unmatched in its complexity. From the deserts of early Africa to the coastal marshes of Proto-Asia, this is a world alive in every sense. And at the centre of it all, dinosaurs reign supreme. They are not merely creatures of bone and muscle. They are the sculptors of ecosystems, the regulators of energy, the bridge between plant and predator. As the Jurassic world flourishes, it sets the stage for even more astonishing transformations ahead. The next era will bring not just new giants, but entirely new worlds. Continents will drift farther, climates will shift again, and new dinosaurs will rise from the fertile soil of opportunity. But for now, the earth is green, the sky is wide, and the age of domination continues with breathtaking beauty. As the Jurassic period unfolds, the Age of Giants begins in full force. The Earth, now a land of warmth and abundance, creates the perfect environment for evolution to push the absolute limits of life. And in this era of opportunity, a new group of dinosaurs rises to unparalleled heights. They are the sauropods. Towering, long-necked, and as heavy as steam locomotives, sauropods are unlike anything that had walked the Earth before. They are not hunters, they are not armored, they are not fast. Yet they will come to dominate the Jurassic world in size, in numbers, and in their sheer impact on the environment. They begin with simple origins. Their ancestors, the prosauropods, were smaller and more versatile. Species like Plateosaurus roamed during the late Triassic, walking both upright and on all fours. They fed on soft plants and had flexible diets. These early creatures laid the blueprint for what was to come. As time moved into the early Jurassic, a dramatic shift occurred. Some species began to grow larger. Their limbs grew stronger, their necks longer. This change was not random. It was the result of intense evolutionary pressure. Plants had grown tall, forests had matured. Food was no longer only on the ground. Those that could reach higher survived the longest. The first true sauropods emerged in this context. Species like Vulcanodon appeared in what is now Africa. While not yet giants by later standards, they were enormous compared to other dinosaurs of their time. They had long tails for balance, pillar-like legs, and bodies built for endurance rather than speed. In India, Barapasaurus took form. It reached lengths of over 15 meters. Its spine was strengthened by deep, bony projections, helping it support the weight of its enormous tail. Its teeth were spoon-shaped, perfectly adapted to strip leaves and branches with each bite. These early sauropods marked the beginning of a transformation in dinosaur biology. Unlike other herbivores, they did not chew their food. They swallowed vegetation whole. They relied on massive stomachs, essentially living fermentation vats, to digest the plant material over long periods. This internal adaptation allowed them to consume huge quantities of low-nutrient plants that other creatures avoided. Their size became their greatest strength. Predators could not easily bring down a full-grown sauropod. Even young sauropods protected within the center of their herd were difficult targets. Herds became larger. Migration routes stretched for hundreds of miles. These giants needed to be in constant motion to find enough food. Rivers became lifelines. Valleys turned into highways for their seasonal travel. They walked with a slow, earth-shaking determination. Their footprints carved deep paths into the soil. Some of these tracks remain today, fossilized in stone. They reveal not chaos but order, a pattern of cooperation and coordination. Their skeletons tell a story of brilliant engineering. Despite their immense mass, their bones were lightened by a complex system of air sacs. Their vertebrae interlocked for stability like the pieces of a bridge. Their legs were positioned vertically like columns to support their weight with maximum efficiency. These creatures were not just big, they were biomechanical marvels. As time passed, new and larger forms evolved. In Europe, Cetiosaurus, often called the whale lizard, grew over 18 meters in length. It moved through fern-covered lowlands, likely feeding continuously just to sustain its incredible bulk. Its vertebrae showed signs of heavy muscle attachment, indicating a life of constant, powerful movement. In South America, Rabachisaurus and its relatives started pushing toward even larger sizes. The race for height and weight had officially begun. With size came influence. As these creatures moved, they affected everything around them. Their weight compacted the soil. Their feeding stripped entire groves of trees. Their waste fertilized whole regions. They acted like living machines, transforming their habitats simply by existing. Ecosystems began to center around their presence. Smaller herbivores followed behind the herds to eat what the giants missed. Predators evolved tactics to exploit the weak, the sick, or the very young. Even plants responded to the pressure. Some developed tougher leaves or toxins. Others simply grew taller, trying to stay out of reach. A silent war between herbivore and vegetation shaped the very evolution of the forests. In their wake, they left trails of both destruction and rebirth. The first sauropods also influenced the skies. As trees were stripped of their leaves, more sunlight was able to reach the forest floor. This allowed ferns, mosses, and new plant species to spread. These new plants in turn attracted insects, mammals, and smaller dinosaurs. Sauropods were not solitary. Their survival depended on unity. They lived in herds that may have numbered in the dozens, possibly hundreds. Together they moved as one, protecting each other through their overwhelming strength in numbers. And within these herds they raised their young. Nests were large and shallow, often simple scrapes in the ground filled with dozens of eggs. Hatchlings emerged vulnerable and tiny compared to the adults. They grew with astonishing speed, relying on the safety of the herd. Some paleontologists believe they may have stayed near floodplains or in sheltered groves during their earliest weeks. Life for a young sauropod was filled with constant danger, but those that made it through the first year had a chance to become giants. The world watched as these creatures grew. Their presence was unmistakable. Their footprints measured meters across. Their necks swayed like bridges across the forests. Their breathing rumbled through the trees like distant thunder. No predator dared to attack a full-grown sauropod without immense risk. Even the mightiest carnivores respected their size. Their dominance reshaped the balance of power. They taught evolution a new path to success. Not through speed, not through armor, not through venom or claws, but through sheer mass efficiency and endurance. The early Jurassic giants had arrived. They would not be the largest, not yet. Greater titans would come in later chapters of Earth's story. But they had set the foundation. The age of the sauropods had begun, and the Earth would never be the same. As the giants of the Jurassic reached new heights, nature answered with balance. Every towering sauropod, every massive herbivore needed a check, and in the shadows of these giants, a new kind of predator evolved. Smarter, faster, and more tactical. They were not just hunters, they were specialists, and at the top of that evolutionary chain stood Allosaurus. Allosaurus was not the largest predator of its time. It was not the fastest or the most heavily armored, but it was one of the most successful. Fossils of Allosaurus have been found across what is now North America and Europe, often in large numbers. Its reign lasted for millions of years. It earned its title as the apex predator of the late Jurassic. The body of Allosaurus was a blueprint of deadly design. It stood on two muscular legs, perfectly balanced by a thick, heavy tail. Its skull was long and narrow, filled with dozens of serrated teeth. These teeth were not built for crushing bone, but for slicing flesh. Each tooth curved backward, designed to tear away muscle and prevent prey from escaping once bitten. Its arms, while short, were far from useless. They were powerful and tipped with 3 large claws. Each claw was capable of slashing deep into muscle and bone. Its vision was forward-facing, giving it binocular sight and excellent depth perception. It could judge distances with precision. It could see its target, and it could kill it. Allosaurus was a stalker, a tracker, and in some cases, a team player. Evidence from fossil sites strongly suggests that Allosaurus may have hunted in groups. Multiple individuals have been found around the remains of large prey, including sauropods. These groupings hint at the possibility of coordinated hunting behavior. But unlike modern pack hunters like wolves, Allosaurus may have been more opportunistic. They could have gathered around kills the way crocodiles or Komodo dragons do today. If one made the kill, others would follow, sometimes cooperating, sometimes competing fiercely for the spoils. When facing prey much larger than itself, Allosaurus used tactics. Its jaws were not built for bone crushing. They were built for quick, powerful strikes. It may have attacked repeatedly, opening deep wounds and weakening its target over time. It may have used its skull like a hatchet, slamming its upper jaw downward in a devastating biting motion. Its neck muscles were thick, and its jaws opened incredibly wide. Once it latched on, it could tear away huge chunks of flesh with a violent twist of its head. But it was not reckless. Allosaurus did not waste energy. It chose its targets carefully. The juveniles, the injured, the old. It watched herds from a distance, looking for any sign of weakness. It could wait for hours, even days, before striking. It was patient. Its intelligence set it apart. Compared to other theropods of its time, Allosaurus had a relatively large brain. It learned it, adapted it, remembered. And in the ever-changing Jurassic world that made it incredibly dangerous, Allosaurus lived in diverse environments. It inhabited forests, river valleys, and open plains. It followed its prey across vast distances. It crossed seasonal landscapes, adapting to intense heat and powerful storms. Its senses were keen. It could smell blood from great distances. It could hear the low-frequency movements of large herds. It knew how to use the terrain to its advantage, hiding behind rocks or trees before lunging with explosive speed. Fossil evidence also shows signs of injury and healing in Allosaurus bones, broken ribs, bitten tails, damaged skulls. This predator lived a brutal life, and yet it survived. It healed. It endured. Allosaurus was not alone in its class. Other large predators like Ceratosaurus and Torvosaurus shared its world. They too hunted and scavenged. Some were larger, some were stronger, but none were as widespread or as dominant. Allosaurus held the crown because it was adaptable. It could take down an armored Stegosaurus by targeting the soft areas between its bony plates. It could chase down small ornithopods in a full sprint. It could scavenge from the dead when the hunt failed. It did not rely on a single strength. It had many. Its young were likely raised in safety, hidden in dense vegetation or on high ground. Hatchlings grew quickly. Within a few years, they could hunt on their own. Within a decade, they reached their full, terrifying size. Every stage of its life was built for survival. Its bones were filled with air sacs, making them strong but light. Its metabolism was fast, allowing for quick bursts of powerful movement. Its claws and teeth regrew as they were lost or damaged, and its reputation echoed across the Jurassic landscape. Even the sauropods, the giants of the time, were not completely immune. While a full-grown Brachiosaurus was nearly untouchable, a young or injured one was a target. Allosaurus watched the edges of the herds, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Its very presence shaped the behavior of other species. Herbivores evolved thicker hides and more defensive postures. Stegosaurs developed tail spikes capable of piercing predator flesh. Small herbivores grew faster and stayed in large groups for safety. Allosaurus was not just a predator, it was a sculptor of evolution. Its actions dictated the survival strategies of dozens of other species. It was a constant reminder that the Jurassic world was not just a paradise, it was a battlefield. Yet for all its violence, Allosaurus was also a creature of balance. It kept herbivore populations in check. It cleaned the landscape of the weak and the dying. It made ecosystems healthier through its very nature. As the Jurassic period neared its peak, Allosaurus stood tall. Not the biggest, not the fastest, but the most enduring. It was the product of millions of years of evolutionary refinement, and it would leave a legacy that echoed into the Cretaceous and beyond. In a world ruled by giants, Allosaurus ruled the shadows, and the world bowed to its deadly precision. Beneath the towering legs of giants and the thunderous roars of apex predators lies a world often overlooked. Yet it is this world that sustains all the others. It is a world of green, of growth, of endless cycles of life and decay. This is the world of Jurassic flora. The forests of the Jurassic period are unlike anything that exists today. They are vast, dense, and richly layered. Towering conifers dominate the skyline. Trees such as Araucaria and Podocarpus stretch upward. They form thick canopies that block the sun and create shadowy underworlds beneath. These ancient trees do not have flowers. They reproduce using cones. Wind carries their pollen across the landscape. Their branches are stiff and spiny. Their leaves are narrow and needle-like. These adaptations make them tough against grazing herbivores and periodic wildfires. Beneath the conifer giants, smaller plants fill every available niche. Cycads, with their stout trunks and crowns of stiff fronds, resemble modern palms. They grow slowly but can endure harsh conditions. Ginkgos, with their distinctive fan-shaped leaves, form groves in wetter regions. And on the forest floor, the true heart of the Jurassic green world, the ferns dominate. Ferns are everywhere. They form vast prairies across open floodplains. They cluster densely along riverbanks. They cling to the edges of cliffs. With no flowers or seeds, ferns spread by releasing microscopic spores into the air. They are ancient, older than the dinosaurs themselves, older than many types of insects, and yet they remain incredibly resilient. Mosses and horsetails also play their part. They hold the soil in place. They provide moisture and shelter for small creatures. They are the silent architects of countless microhabitats. The air is thick with humidity. Rain falls often. Clouds drift slowly over vast inland seas. Water shapes the land. Rivers meander through forested valleys. Lakes dot the lowlands. And everywhere the green world grows. This explosion of plant life sets the stage for a herbivore boom unlike any before. As plants evolve and spread, so too do the dinosaurs that feed on them. Stegosaurs flourish in the shadows of the tall trees. With small heads and simple peg-like teeth, they specialize in low browsing. Their sharp beaks clip soft fern fronds. Their powerful digestive systems break down tough plant material. Their iconic plates, once thought to be solely for protection, may also serve as solar panels. Vascularized and thin, these plates may have helped regulate their body temperature. Ornithopods begin to diversify. Small and agile, these dinosaurs are the rabbits and deer of their time. They travel in herds, nibbling on ferns and shrubs. Some species evolve complex chewing mechanisms. Their jaws move in intricate patterns. They can grind and process food more efficiently than most other reptiles. Species like Dinosaurus move swiftly across the open fern prairies. They use speed as their primary defense. Their eyes are large, their hearing sharp. They can detect danger long before it arrives. The ankylosaurs begin their early rise. Low to the ground, covered in thick scales, they graze slowly and steadily. They are living tanks with stomachs built for constant feeding. The sauropods, already giants, evolve further in response to the changing flora. They begin to specialize. Some grow even longer necks to reach the highest branches. Others adapt to low browsing, sweeping their necks in wide arcs to strip entire fields of ferns. The relationship between plants and herbivores is not passive. It is a constant dynamic exchange. As herbivores graze, plants regrow. Some develop defenses like tough leaves, bitter tastes, or fibrous textures. Others thrive through sacrifice. They grow quickly and spread widely. They rely on overproduction to survive being consumed. Ecosystems balance through this intricate interaction. The impact of the herbivore boom spreads beyond the forest. Open areas become more common. As sauropods clear trees, sunlight reaches the ground. Grasses have not yet evolved, but vast fern prairies take their place. These prairies stretch for miles. They are uninterrupted fields of low-growing vegetation. Herds of ornithopods and stegosaurs wander across them. Flocks of pterosaurs circle above. Predators stalk from the edges of the tree line. Herbivores change the very soil they walk on. Their droppings enrich it with nitrogen. Their movements trample seeds into the ground. Their bodies carry spores and pollen. They become unwitting agents of plant dispersal. Insects respond to this abundance of food and shelter. Beetles, termites, and early pollinators explode in diversity. Some feed on rotting plants. Others help recycle nutrients back into the soil. The mammals, still small and nocturnal, scurry beneath the ferns. They feed on insects and fallen cones. They live in burrows and hollow logs. The entire food chain becomes more complex, more connected. The forests echo with life. The calls of dinosaurs, the hum of insects, the rustle of leaves in the canopy. Life thrives at every level, from the highest branches to the deepest roots. Seasonal changes affect everything. Wet seasons bring floods and new growth. Plants bloom and herbivores give birth. Dry seasons bring scarcity. Migrations begin and predators follow. Every organism in this world is tied to the rhythm of growth and decay. Fires occasionally sweep through, clearing old growth and renewing the soil. Some plants are fire-resistant. Others rely on the intense heat of a fire to trigger their reproduction. Nothing is wasted. Everything has a role. And through it all, the dominance of the flora fuels the rise of the dinosaurs. Without this green world, there would be no giants, no herds, no apex hunters. The Jurassic is not only a time of great beasts, it is a time of great balance. The plants build the foundation, and upon it the dinosaurs rise to rule the world. Beneath the thick canopies of the Jurassic forests, and along the edges of fern-covered clearings, something new is stirring. It is not large, it is not loud, but it is different. These creatures do not rely on brute strength or towering size. Instead, they carry a secret weapon that the giants lack. They carry feathers. In the stillness of the undergrowth, small, agile dinosaurs dart between tree roots. They are light, fast, and covered in filament-like structures. Primitive feathers. These are not birds. Not yet. But they are the early blueprint. For many years, feathers were thought to be unique to modern birds. Today, fossil discoveries from around the world tell a deeper story. A story that begins here in the Jurassic. Feathers did not appear suddenly. They evolved slowly, likely from modified reptilian scales. Their earliest form may have served a very different purpose than flight. Insulation. The Jurassic world is mostly warm, but temperatures can shift with elevation and season. For small dinosaurs with fast metabolisms, retaining body heat is essential. Feathers act like thermal blankets, trapping warmth and shielding skin from the elements. As feathers developed, they gained new and valuable uses. Camouflage. In forests dappled with light and shadow-patterned feathers would help these dinosaurs blend in perfectly. Survival depends not only on movement but on invisibility. Then came display. Bright or contrasting feathers may have signaled dominance, attracted mates or intimidated rivals. Even without complex colors, visual displays evolve quickly under the pressure of social behaviors. Some feathered dinosaurs are solitary, others live in small groups. Their communication is likely more advanced than that of many of their larger relatives. Chirps, clicks, and complex body movements become part of a growing social vocabulary. These early bird-like dinosaurs belong to a group called Maniraptorans. Within this lineage, more advanced forms begin to appear. Species like Anchiornis and Orornis show clear evidence of structured feathers along their arms and tails. They may not be able to fly, but they can glide, leaping from branch to branch. Their feathered limbs extend their jumps, allowing them to cross gaps in the forest canopy. Their limbs become lighter, their bones become more hollow, their claws become sharper for climbing, their eyes face forward, improving their depth perception. The forests become their playground, their testing ground. They hunt insects, small reptiles, and even other tiny dinosaurs. They are omnivores, taking whatever opportunity the rich forest environment offers. These adaptations are not isolated. They are part of a broader evolutionary shift. Insects become faster, and flyers become more agile. Hunting them requires precision and speed. These feathered dinosaurs evolved to meet that challenge. Fossils from China's Liaoning province, preserved in fine volcanic ash, reveal an astonishing level of detail. They show fully feathered dinosaurs frozen in time. Some have wing-like arms, others have fans of feathers on their legs and tails. They are not birds, but they are getting very close. Archaeopteryx is among the most famous of these transitional forms. Discovered in the limestone quarries of Germany, it walks a fine line between two worlds. It has the sharp teeth, long tail, and claws of a dinosaur, but it has the feathers and flight capabilities of a bird. Its wings are not as efficient as those of modern birds, but it can glide. It could possibly flap for short bursts of powered flight. Its brain is larger than other dinosaurs of its size, its eyes sharp. Archaeopteryx is not alone. It represents a moment of intense evolutionary experimentation. Nature testing the boundaries between the ground and the sky. Not all feathered dinosaurs will take flight. Some will retain their feathers only for warmth or display. Others may lose them entirely over time, but the path has been set. Feathers have entered the evolutionary game. Their presence marks a shift not just in anatomy but in behavior. Flight, even in a limited form, changes everything. It opens up new territories. It allows for a quick escape from ground-based predators. It grants access to new food sources high in the trees. In the dense Jurassic forests, this advantage is profound. Over millions of years, these small feathered species begin to diverge. Some stay close to the ground, becoming specialized runners. Others live exclusively in the treetops. A few begin to develop keeled breastbones to anchor powerful flight muscles. They hatch from eggs with a higher rate of development. They grow faster than their reptilian cousins. Their lungs change too. Instead of simply inflating and deflating like our own, they develop a unidirectional system. Air moves through their lungs in one direction, delivering a constant supply of oxygen. This is the same highly efficient system that modern birds still use. Even their reproductive strategies begin to shift. Nests become more elaborate. Parental care becomes more pronounced. Instead of just laying and leaving their eggs, they begin to protect them, warm them, and defend their hatchlings. This behavioral complexity starts to surpass that of their larger, more famous relatives. It's not just about biology, it's about intelligence. These feathered dinosaurs are observant and quick to react. Their survival relies on agility, both physical and mental. They are the first to take to the skies. They are also the first to exhibit the beginnings of what we might call consciousness. Awareness of their surroundings, coordination with others, memory planning. They are not simply reacting to the world, they are learning from it. As the Jurassic comes to an end, these creatures remain small in number. They are not yet dominant. The giants still rule the land. But these small feathered creatures are patient. Their evolution is not one of conquest, but of preparation. They can survive where others perish. They can adapt when the world changes. And when a great catastrophe arrives in the distant future, it will be these feathered survivors who inherit the earth. For now, they glide silently beneath the trees. Their feathers rustling in the wind, their sharp eyes watching, waiting for their time to come. Long before birds soared above the trees, before feathers found their full purpose in flight, the skies of the Jurassic were already ruled by a different kind of flyer. They were not birds, they were not dinosaurs, but they were close relatives. They were the pterosaurs. Emerging in the late Triassic and evolving rapidly through the Jurassic pterosaurs were the first vertebrates to truly conquer the air. Their arrival marked a revolutionary moment in Earth's evolutionary story. They were not clumsy gliders. They were powerful flyers built for agility, distance, and control. Their wings were not made of feathers, they were made of skin and muscles stretched over a single, dramatically elongated fourth finger. This unique design gave them a wide range of motion and flexibility unmatched by any modern creature. Early pterosaurs were small and looked fragile. Species like Dimorphodon had short necks, large eyes, and jaws filled with sharp teeth. They likely nested on cliffsides, took off from the ground or trees, and hunted for fish and insects along the coastlines. Their bones were incredibly light, with skeletons perfectly adapted for flight. Air sacs connected to their lungs extended into their hollow bones. This reduced their weight and increased their oxygen efficiency. Their vision was sharp. Their brains were well developed, especially in the regions that controlled balance and movement. They were masters of three-dimensional space. As the Jurassic progressed, pterosaurs diversified. Some species evolved longer wings and larger bodies like Rhamphorhynchus. Its long tail ended in a stiffened vein of skin that helped it steer like a rudder. It hunted over lakes and seas, plucking fish from the water with its curved teeth and snapping jaws. Others took different paths. The anaerognathids were small and round-headed, adapted for hunting insects in dense forests. They likely fluttered between the trees like oversized bats. They used a form of sonar-like vision and delicate wings to navigate tight spaces. In open coastal regions, larger pterosaurs evolved to patrol the skies. They traveled long distances, riding air currents for hours on end. Their wings stretched across several meters. Their bodies, though large, remained light and aerodynamic. On beaches and cliffs, large colonies formed. Fossil evidence shows clusters of nests, suggesting complex social behavior. Parents may have cared for their young, protecting the eggs from predators and shielding the hatchlings from the wind. Despite their diversity, all pterosaurs shared a few key traits. Their wings were supported by a single elongated finger. Their sternums were keeled to anchor powerful flight muscles. Their eyes were forward-facing, giving them good depth perception. Their jaws, often filled with teeth, were adapted for varied diets. Some ate fish, while others hunted small reptiles. A few were scavengers, and some may have even filtered plankton from shallow waters. They were not dinosaurs, but they evolved alongside them. They responded to the same environmental pressures. As forests grew taller and herds of dinosaurs expanded, the skies became busier. Pterosaurs faced competition from the newly emerging feathered dinosaurs. But for much of the Jurassic, they remained the dominant flyers. They adapted to changing climates, shifting continents, and new predators. Their bones, delicate and light, are rarely preserved in the fossil record. Yet the fossils we do find tell a story of remarkable evolution. Some grew elaborate crests on top of their skulls. These may have been for display or for flight stability. Others had toothless beaks. A A few species even developed a semi-quadrupedal walking style, using their folded wings as front limbs when on the ground. Their launch method was unique. Unlike birds, they likely used all four limbs to propel themselves powerfully into the air. It was a leap and a vault, not a simple run and flap. This gave them explosive takeoff power and made them highly efficient hunters. They ruled the skies, but they were not invincible. Storms brought them down. Predators snatched them from their cliffs. Fierce sea winds pushed them into rocks. But they adapted. They evolved in silence, high above the thunder of the sauropod herds. They cast long shadows on the forest canopies below. They watched the world from above. They navigated invisible highways of wind and cloud. Their flight changed ecosystems. They spread seeds and spores. They moved nutrients between different regions. They fed on pests and helped to balance insect populations. Pterosaurs were not just flyers. They were ecological engineers. And their story does not end in the Jurassic. They would go on to reach even greater sizes in the Cretaceous. They would become the largest flying animals the world would ever see. But it all began here in the warm skies of the Jurassic, above green continents and steaming coasts where wings first conquered the air. The age of the pterosaurs had taken flight, and for millions of years, the skies belonged to them. Beneath the crashing waves of the Jurassic world lies a realm as rich and complex as the forests above. While dinosaurs walk the land and pterosaurs glide through the sky, the oceans are ruled by a different kind of reptile. These are not fish. They are not amphibians. They are powerful marine reptiles perfectly adapted to a life beneath the surface. The seas of the Jurassic are warm and wide. Shallow inland oceans stretch across the continents. Vibrant coral reefs bloom with life. Sea levels are high. Tectonic activity constantly reshapes the coastlines. New habitats open up with every rift and rising current. This aquatic world is no less brutal than the one on land. Here, survival depends on speed, stealth, and adaptation. The top predators of the Jurassic seas are the ichthyosaurs, shaped like modern dolphins but evolved from land-dwelling reptiles. Ichthyosaurs are fast, streamlined, and built for long pursuits. Their large eyes allow them to see in low light deep beneath the waves. Their snouts are long and filled with sharp conical teeth. They are not gentle creatures, they are ambush hunters. Some species, like Ophthalmosaurus, dive deep to catch squid and other soft-bodied prey. Others hunt in shallower waters, snapping at schools of fish and crustaceans. Their flippers are stiff and powerful, perfect for high-speed chases. Their skin is smooth, their lungs efficient. They give birth to live young in the water. They never need to come ashore. Ichthyosaurs are not alone. Alongside them swim the plesiosaurs. These long-necked marine reptiles glide through the sea with graceful, powerful flippers. Their bodies are wide and barrel-shaped. Their heads are small, perched atop flexible necks that can sweep in every direction. They hunt by stealth, weaving through kelp forests and coral channels. They strike with lightning speed, catching fish and cephalopods. Their teeth interlock like a basket of needles. Once a victim is caught, there is no escape. Some species of plesiosaurs grow to massive sizes. Their necks can stretch to nearly half their total body length. Their flippers beat like powerful underwater wings, propelling them with smooth, rhythmic strokes. Other marine reptiles take a different form entirely. The pliosaurs are shorter-necked but much more heavily built. They are the brawlers of the deep. They have massive skulls and jaws capable of crushing bone. They prey on large animals, including other marine reptiles. Species like Liopleurodon become legends. Their jaws can span several meters. Their teeth are as long as daggers. They are the apex predators of the mid-Jurassic oceans. In a single bite, they can sever the spine of an ichthyosaur. Beneath them, the food chain extends in all directions. Shoals of bony fish dart through the reefs. Their scales flash in the filtered sunlight. Ammonites swirl in their beautiful spiraled shells, moving by jet propulsion. They are numerous, diverse, and vital to the marine ecosystem. They feed on plankton, detritus, and small prey. They are preyed upon in turn by almost everything else. Some grow to enormous sizes, others remain tiny. Their fossilized shells tell scientists stories of the temperature and chemistry of the ancient oceans. Crustaceans scuttle across the seafloor. Filter feeders sweep particles from the current. Starfish, sea urchins, and sponges cling to the rocks and coral. The base of it all, unseen by the naked eye, is the plankton. These microscopic organisms feed everything else. They drift with the tides, photosynthesizing, multiplying, and dying in massive seasonal cycles. Their presence fuels the entire food chain from the bottom up. And as in all environments, death brings new life. Carcasses of giant reptiles sink to the dark ocean floor. Scavengers arrive. Worms, crabs, and deep-sea fish strip the bones clean. Nutrients are cycled, populations are balanced, and the ocean remains in constant motion. Storms sometimes churn the surface. Underwater earthquakes can disrupt habitats, but the life below adapts. Marine reptiles evolve with astonishing speed. Their bodies shift with the climate and the availability of prey. Their bones grow denser or lighter, their teeth sharper or broader. Some specialize in deep diving, others in fast, surface-level striking. The competition is constant. Predators face off against other predators. The young are often lost. Only the fittest survive. Fossil beds like those in Germany and England preserve entire marine communities in ancient sediments. They show fish caught mid-swim reptiles with unborn young inside them, and ammonites with bite marks from failed hunts. These frozen moments capture the intense drama of the Jurassic Sea. Life here is not secondary to life on land. It is primary. These creatures dominate a world without borders. They cross oceans, follow currents, and migrate with the seasons. The seas connect every continent, and within them the same brutal rules apply as on the land. Eat, escape, adapt, survive. The marine reptiles will not outlive the dinosaurs on land, but during the Jurassic, they are their equals in grandeur and in danger. While sauropods shake the ground and allosaurs stalk the herds, pliosaurs tear through the deep. And ichthyosaurs chase shadows in the twilight blue. The ocean is not a place of peace. It is a kingdom. And in the Jurassic, it is ruled by reptiles with teeth like blades and eyes wide enough to see in the dark. They were masters of silence, ghosts in the water. And for millions of years, nothing challenged their rule. Beneath the calm forests and the endless herds beneath the seabeds and the mountain ranges, something restless stirs. The Jurassic Earth is not a stable world. It is a world in constant, violent motion. Volcanoes rumble, earthquakes tear through the bedrock, ash falls like snow from a sky painted a hellish red. Rivers vanish in moments, entire landscapes can shift overnight. For all its beauty and abundance, the Jurassic is a time of chaos. This chaos is not a flaw in the system, it is the system. The Earth is still young, still reshaping itself. Its surface is just a thin crust over a churning molten mantle. And the pressure from within is relentless. As Pangea breaks apart, the ground groans with tension. Tectonic plates grind against each other and shift. Massive rift zones open up, letting molten rock escape in rivers of fire. Lava flows across the open plains. It incinerates everything in its path. Trees explode in clouds of steam. Animals either flee or perish. Yet from this destruction, new land is born. Once it has cooled, volcanic soil becomes incredibly rich with minerals. Ferns and conifers return quickly. Within just a few years, green reclaims the blackened ground. Ash clouds spread across entire continents. The skies can darken for weeks, even months. The sun dims. Temperatures drop. Plants struggle to photosynthesize. Herbivores weaken. Predators grow desperate. But life adapts. Not every eruption brings a global catastrophe. Some are local. Others are massive enough to shift the climate temporarily. Fossil records show sudden die-offs in certain layers of rock. This is evidence of stress of events that reshaped ecosystems almost instantly. Earthquakes strike along the fault lines. They crack ancient lake beds. They can cause cliffs to collapse. They can redirect the course of mighty rivers. Entire herds are sometimes swallowed by sinkholes. Stampedes leave fossils of dozens of animals frozen mid-escape. Some of the best preserved skeletons are found in areas where mudslides or floods buried creatures alive. Disaster becomes a form of preservation. Storms roll in from the vast inland seas. Warm air meets cold. Lightning ignites the dry forests. Fire spreads fast across the fern fields and conifer slopes. Smoke chokes the sky, but fire is not always death. Many Jurassic plants are adapted to it. Some release their spores or seeds only in the presence of extreme heat. Fire clears away the old, making space for the new. Floods follow. Heavy rains swell the rivers. Lowlands vanish beneath muddy waters. Nests are drowned and eggs are lost. But with every flood, fresh sediment spreads across the land. Nutrients replenish the soil. New growth always follows. This is the rhythm of the Jurassic Earth: creation, destruction, and renewal. It is a cycle written into the very bones of the planet. Some dinosaurs learn to move with the land. Migratory species shift their routes based on volcanic activity. They learn to avoid certain valleys during the storm season. They nest on higher ground. Others are not so lucky. In some regions, entire populations disappear. They are wiped out not by predators, but by the planet itself. Dust layers in rock tell stories of massive volcanic winters. Carbon levels rise and fall. Oxygen levels dip. And yet the resilience of life persists. Within just a few thousand years, the forests return, the herds reform, and the ecosystems rebuild. This is not extinction. This is transformation. The Earth is carving its own identity. Every mountain range that rises from lava becomes a future home for new life. Every earthquake that shifts a river births a new delta rich in life. And the animals that survive are not random. They are the most flexible, the most alert. They learn quickly. They evolve with their environment, not against it. The chaos becomes a part of their story. Volcanoes also create rare moments of perfect preservation. Ash falls can bury entire regions, freezing life in its final moments. In some of these fossil beds, delicate details remain perfectly intact. Skin impressions, feathers, the positions of nests. We can see how dinosaurs lived because they died suddenly in the grip of a natural disaster. Without these moments of chaos, much of what we know would be lost to time. The Jurassic world is beautiful, but its beauty is shaped by fire and pressure. From the red glow of lava at night to the distant thunder of eruptions, life marches forward, not in spite of the chaos, but because of it. It is not a peaceful world. It is a world alive with fury and rebirth, and every creature that calls it home must learn to adapt or vanish. As the Jurassic period reaches its later stages, the world has become a complex mosaic of ecosystems. Vast forests, fern, prairies, deserts, and volcanic ranges stretch across the drifting continents. The land is alive with the sounds of thunderous footsteps, the calls of distant herds, and the rustle of wings overhead. Yet this world is not static. It moves, and so do its rulers. Dinosaurs once confined to specific regions now begin to migrate across expanding territories. Their movements are not random. They are guided by the rhythms of the planet. The seasons shift. The rains come and go, volcanoes shape new valleys, sea levels rise and fall, and with each change the dinosaurs adapt by moving. Some of the first large-scale migrations occur among the sauropods. Species like Diplodocus and Apatosaurus do not stay in one place. Their massive appetites require constant feeding. Once an area is grazed clean, the herd moves on. And they do not move alone. The young travel with the adults. Smaller herbivores follow in their wake, feeding on the leftover vegetation. Scavengers trail behind, waiting for the sick or the injured to fall. The migration becomes a mobile ecosystem. Footprints in fossilized mud reveal long columns of dinosaurs moving in unison. Thousands of impressions stretch across ancient floodplains. They move from the lowlands to the highlands, following the growth of ferns and conifers. They seek out water sources during the dry seasons. They escape floods by climbing ridges and plateaus. The ornithopods, smaller and faster, also migrate. Species like Camptosaurus travel in large herds. They likely cover vast distances in search of food and safety. Their movements may be seasonal, tied to nesting cycles or climatic changes. And where the herbivores go, the predators follow. Allosaurus and its kin track the paths of the herbivore herds. They watch from the trees, they wait along river crossings, and they hunt the weakest members of the group. Even the stegosaurs move in patterns. Their fossils appear across wide regions, suggesting they too traveled in search of favorable environments. Migration is not just about survival, it is evolution in motion. As dinosaurs spread, they encounter new environments. Deserts, mountains, coastlines, and forests each offer different challenges. Those that survive pass on the traits best suited for those regions. In Africa, long-necked herbivores evolve different body proportions than those in Europe. In North America, predatory dinosaurs become larger and more robust. In island regions, some species shrink in size due to limited resources. Continental drift plays a key role in this. As Pangea continues to break apart, populations become isolated. Dinosaurs that were once part of the same species begin to diverge. Over millions of years, they evolve into entirely new forms. But migration continues even across these changes. Land bridges can form during periods of low sea levels. Herds can cross from one continent to another. Some species spread across multiple regions, leaving their fossil evidence across distant parts of the globe. Paleontologists find similar species in both North America and Europe. This suggests there were still pathways of connection during the late Jurassic. Even the pterosaurs join the migration. Capable of flying great distances, they travel between coastlines. They follow fish populations and find safe nesting grounds. In the skies, their shadows stretch across every continent. In the seas, the marine reptiles migrate as well. Ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs follow the ocean currents and temperatures. They dive and swim across the ancient oceans. They give birth far from where they themselves were born, creating global lineages that span generations. The global spread of dinosaur species also changes the landscape. The herds break new trails through the forests. Repeated migrations flatten grasslands into permanent highways. Riverbanks erode under the weight of constant crossings. Plants evolve in response. Some develop tougher stems to resist the constant grazing. Others grow faster to keep up with the demand. Insects and small animals travel with the herds. Seeds are carried in their dung or stuck to their limbs. Entire ecosystems spread through this movement. And with every generation, the memory of these routes is passed down. Some scientists believe that dinosaurs may have followed ancient paths similar to modern migrations. The knowledge of water sources, nesting grounds, and safe havens may have been encoded in their behavior. This instinct would have allowed their survival in times of drought, disaster, and change, and it created a world in constant motion. The late Jurassic is not a still life. It is a living, breathing planet of wanderers, a planet where giants roam from one edge of a continent to another, where the sky is crossed by wings that remember the shape of the coastlines, where the oceans hold paths followed by generations of predators. In this world, migration is not just movement. It is the story of survival written in footsteps. It is the heartbeat of the dinosaur era, and it echoes across every corner of the Earth. As the Jurassic period draws to a close, the world begins to change once more. It is not an ending marked by a great cataclysm, but by a slow, steady, deep transition. The continents continue their drift apart, pulling the Earth into new shapes. The rifting zones widen, shallow seas creep farther inland. New mountain ranges begin to rise. The world feels familiar, yet beneath the surface everything is shifting. This is the threshold of the Cretaceous period, and though the age of dinosaurs continues, their stage is being rebuilt. The climate cools slightly in some areas and becomes more humid in others. Volcanic activity still pulses beneath the surface, but it no longer dominates the landscape as it once did. This new world brings new opportunities and new pressures. The vegetation begins to evolve. While conifers, cycads, and ferns still dominate, the first flowering plants begin to appear. Primitive angiosperms. They are small and unassuming, yet they are revolutionary. These early flowers do not yet cover the land, but they represent a silent change in how plants will soon reproduce. They attract new kinds of insects, and those insects attract new kinds of hunters. This is the beginning of a new ecological balance. Insects become more specialized. Beetles, flies, and wasp-like creatures diversify with incredible speed. Their interactions with flowers speed up the evolution of both groups. On the forest floors and in the treetops, the feathered dinosaurs grow more diverse. Some glide, others perch. Their feathers grow more elaborate, more structured. They are still small, still hiding in the shadows, but evolution is preparing them for something greater. In the larger ecosystems, the dominant species also begin to change. many of the familiar giants of the Jurassic start to disappear. Species like Diplodocus and Stegosaurus vanish from the fossil record. They are replaced by new sauropods with different body proportions and more advanced skeletal structures. The Titanosaurs begin to emerge in the southern continents. Their bodies are even more massive, their limbs stronger, their armor more defined. In the north, the Ankylosaurs evolve thicker armor and heavier tails. They are preparing for a new generation of even more powerful predators. The theropods diversify rapidly. Some become smaller and more bird-like. Others, like the ancestors of the Tyrannosaurs, begin to grow larger. Their skulls become broader. Their bite force increases dramatically. Their hunting strategies begin to shift. The ecosystems shift in their complexity. Wetlands grow along the edges of the inland seas. Mangrove-like forests and swampy deltas become the new centers of diversity. Coastal zones become more productive. New marine reptiles like the mosasaurs begin to appear. The oceans change too. The ichthyosaurs decline. Many disappear altogether. The plesiosaurs continue but evolve into new forms. Fish diversify. Sharks increase in number. The ocean food web is being reborn. The skies are reshaped. The pterosaurs split into distinct new lineages. Some grow smaller, adapting to a life in the forests. Others grow larger, preparing for the vast open skies of the late Cretaceous. Some species develop elaborate head crests. Others lose their teeth entirely. They soar across the continents, linking the world through flight. This period of transition is not violent. It is not sudden. It is a long, quiet reshaping of life's blueprint. The Cretaceous period begins not with extinction but with evolution. Species adapt or they vanish. The Jurassic world fades, not into fire but into growth. The dominance of the dinosaurs remains, but their faces begin to change. New forms walk the land. New flowers bloom. New insects buzz through the air. And in the stillness of the twilight, a small feathered creature perches on a branch. It tilts its head toward the sound of moving water. Its ancestors walked the earth. Its descendants will one day rule the sky. The world turns slowly, and the age of dinosaur domination continues on a new and shifting stage. The Cretaceous period begins under a greenhouse sky. Warmth spreads across the entire globe. No polar ice caps exist. From the equator to the poles, lush vegetation thrives. Shallow seas invade the continents. Humidity hangs in the air like a thick blanket. It is a world built for life, but beneath its green exterior the climate is not at peace. It is shifting slowly, steadily toward instability. Volcanic activity continues in cycles. Mountain ranges rise in new regions. Sea levels fluctuate. Vast inland seas form such as the Western Interior Seaway, which splits North America in half. The oceans become the planet's climate engines. They absorb heat, they transport moisture, and they control global temperatures. At the start of the Cretaceous, this balance supports an explosion of biodiversity. Titanosaurs roam the southern continents, feeding on towering conifers. Armored ankylosaurs sweep low for ferns. Hadrosaurs evolved to take advantage of newer plant species, including the spread of early flowering plants. The forests thicken, the rivers deepen, and the insects multiply in waves. The atmosphere is rich in carbon dioxide. Global temperatures are high. In some regions, it is tropical all year round. In others, mild seasons begin to develop, but the balance starts to tip. As the continents drift farther apart, the ocean currents change. Some regions become wetter, while others dry out completely. Volcanic provinces, such as the one in present-day India, begin to pump massive amounts of carbon and sulfur into the sky. This alters the chemistry of the atmosphere. Acid rain falls in destructive bursts. Temperatures begin to swing wildly. Massive wildfires sweep through the dry regions. Soot from these fires can block the sunlight. These events are not constant, but they are frequent enough to disrupt ecosystems. The animals begin to adapt to this new volatility. Migratory patterns shift. Dinosaurs develop new nesting strategies. Species that once thrived in stable conditions now face new competition and environmental stress. Some adapt, others disappear. Pollen records and leaf fossils show changes in the vegetation. Plant diversity increases, but so does regional specialization. In some areas, flowering plants begin to overtake the conifers. This changes the diets of the herbivores. Hadrosaurs with their complex dental batteries become dominant. They can process tougher, more fibrous plant material. Their ability to grind, chew, and digest makes them one of the most successful herbivore groups of the Cretaceous. They fill the forests and the plains. Their footprints dominate the fossil beds. Their herds reshape the landscapes. The predators evolve to match them. Tyrannosaurs rise in the north. Abelisaurs rise in the south. Their hunting styles diverge. Their skulls become stronger. Their teeth become more specialized. The great evolutionary arms race continues. But it now plays out in a world that is growing less stable with each passing million years. Oxygen levels fluctuate. Some regions experience drops in atmospheric oxygen. This forces animals to adapt their lung efficiency and energy conservation. The sea temperatures rise. Coral reefs begin to bleach. Marine life struggles to adapt. The inland seas can trap heat, turning once fertile areas into seasonal furnaces. Rain patterns grow unpredictable. Droughts become longer. Floods become more violent. The ecosystems are stretched thin, and yet life pushes forward. Evidence suggests that some dinosaurs begin to grow faster. Faster growth means faster reproduction, a clear advantage in a changing world. Even their eggs adapt. Some dinosaurs lay their eggs in large clusters. Others bury their eggs deeper in the soil. Some even use the heat from decaying vegetation or from geothermal energy to incubate them. As the Cretaceous nears its middle phase, the greenhouse world begins to wobble, and the creatures of the Earth evolve in response. Smaller, more versatile species begin to dominate. The giants still rule, but their reign is no longer absolute. Diversity becomes the new survival strategy. This is a time of invention, of change under pressure, of beauty in the face of unpredictability. The skies grow darker in some regions, the air thinner in others. But the dinosaurs remain. They walk through fire-scarred fields, they nest in flood-shaped forests, and they fly above unstable coastlines. They are no longer just the rulers of a stable paradise. They are the survivors of a shifting planet. And the world they walk is no longer the same as it was before. As the Cretaceous period matures, the Earth witnesses the arrival of some of the most iconic dinosaurs to ever walk the planet. These are not the giants of old, not the towering sauropods of the Jurassic. These are new forms, highly specialized, superbly adapted and evolved for survival in a world that is no longer predictable. This is the age of innovation, and with it comes the rise of the horned, the duck-billed, and the armored. Across the northern continents, a new group of herbivores begins to dominate the landscape. They are the ceratopsians, the horned dinosaurs. Among them, one name echoes louder than all the rest: Triceratops. But long before Triceratops claims the late Cretaceous, its ancestors spread and diversify. From small bipedal creatures like Psittacosaurus to the larger frilled Protoceratops, these dinosaurs begin to experiment with horns, crests, and bone ornamentation. Their jaws are strong, shaped into powerful beaks that can shear through the toughest vegetation. Their teeth are packed tightly together into dental batteries, perfect for grinding. They can chew far more efficiently than any reptile that came before them. The crest at the back of their skull, the frill, becomes larger and more elaborate with time. It serves many possible purposes: defense display and species recognition. Their bodies grow stockier, their limbs strengthen. They become quadrupeds, walking on all fours with heavy muscular builds. As the Cretaceous progresses, this lineage gives rise to Chasmosaurus, Centrosaurus, and finally the mighty Triceratops. Triceratops walks with the authority of a living tank. Its skull alone can span 2.5 meters. 3 sharp horns jut forward from its face, 2 above the eyes and 1 on the nose. Behind them, a massive solid frill of bone arches back to shield its neck. It is a grazer, moving slowly through the forests and open plains. It feeds on low-growing plants, roots, and shrubs. It is not a predator, but it is far from defenseless. Fossil evidence shows healed wounds on its horns and puncture marks on its frills. It may have battled both with rivals of its own species and with predators. Herds of Triceratops likely moved in groups, their young protected in the center, their horns flashing like warning signs to any who dared to approach. Not far from these horned dinosaurs roam the hadrosaurs. They are the duck-billed dinosaurs known for their complex skull shapes and their incredible chewing capabilities. Species like Edmontosaurus and Parasaurolophus dominate the floodplains and coastal forests. They are tall, fast, and highly social. They move in large groups, communicating through deep, resonant calls. Their hollow crests may have functioned like sound chambers, with each species having its own unique tone. Some have elaborate frills or long curving tubes. Others have flattened skulls with low ridges. The hadrosaurs are grazers. Their teeth are arranged in hundreds of tightly packed rows. As old teeth wear down, new ones grow in from below. They can eat a wide variety of plant material, conifers, ferns, and the newly evolving flowering plants. They are among the most efficient herbivores of their time. They migrate in large herds, following the seasonal growth of plants. Fossilized nesting grounds suggest they practiced communal care. The young were raised together. Some may have stayed with their parents for months after hatching. This group becomes one of the most successful in all of Cretaceous history. Their fossils are found across every major northern landmass, and they are not alone. Alongside them moves a different kind of herbivore. It is low to the ground, heavily armored, slow but nearly indestructible. These are the ankylosaurs. With their broad bodies, wide skulls, and backs covered in bony plates, the ankylosaurs are the tanks of the dinosaur world. They carry their protection in every direction. Their heads are shielded by thick skulls. Their necks are protected by rings of fused bone. Their tails end in massive clubs of solid bone, capable of delivering devastating blows. Ankylosaurus is the most famous of the group. It grows over 8 meters long. It moves close to the ground, feeding on low shrubs and plants. Its senses are sharp. It can detect danger through vibration and scent, and when threatened, it does not run. It swings its tail with enough force to shatter the leg bones of an attacking predator. Even the mighty Tyrannosaurus is cautious when facing this living fortress. These three groups, the ceratopsians, the hadrosaurs, and the ankylosaurs, represent the new face of Cretaceous herbivores. They do not rely on size alone. They use intelligence, armor, and complex social behavior. They build herds. They protect their young. They shape the land through their constant movement and feeding. As the forests become thicker and flowering plants expand, these dinosaurs evolve to match the changing world. They become faster, more alert, and more complex in their behaviors, and they pave the way for the final act of the Age of Dinosaurs. While sauropods still roam in the southern continents and other isolated regions, it is these new species that define the landscape of the late Cretaceous in the north. They are the last great experiment of herbivorous evolution, and they are the ones who will face the final moments of this ancient world. As the Cretaceous period marches toward its end, evolution delivers one final masterpiece. It is not the largest creature of its time nor the fastest, but it is one of the most feared, the most iconic, and perhaps the most efficient land predator that has ever lived. It is Tyrannosaurus rex, but long before it takes the throne, its ancestors rise quietly. They evolve in the background while other predators dominate the spotlight. The early relatives of Tyrannosaurus are small and fast. They are agile hunters with long legs and sharp teeth. These early tyrannosaurids, like Dilong and Guanlong, appear in Asia. They are covered in primitive feathers. They hunt small prey. They are not yet kings, but evolution is patient. Over millions of years, the lineage spreads westward, growing in size, strength, and intelligence. As other large predator groups decline, like the allosaurs and the carcharodontosaurs, the tyrannosaurs step into the void. In North America, one branch of this family becomes something else entirely. It becomes a force of nature. Tyrannosaurus rex stands over 12 meters long. It weighs more than 7 tons. Its skull alone can exceed 1.5 meters in length. Its teeth are not like blades. They are like railroad spikes, thick, heavy, and ridged. They are not designed to slice. They are built to crush. No other land predator has a bite force that can compare. It could crush solid bone with a single bite. It could shatter the spine of its prey in one devastating strike. Its jaws open wide, powered by massive neck muscles. Its vision is binocular. It sees in depth. It can calculate distance. It is not a mindless brute. It is a thinking, sensing, calculating killer. Despite its massive head, its brain is large, especially in the areas dedicated to smell and sight. It can track its prey over kilometers. It can detect carcasses that are buried in the forest undergrowth. Its hearing is tuned to low-frequency sounds. It can sense the footsteps of large herbivores from far away. Its body is balanced by a thick, muscular tail. Its powerful legs are not for sprinting over long distances, but for sudden, explosive bursts of speed. Its small arms, often mocked, are not useless. They are thickly muscled, capable of lifting hundreds of pounds. They may have helped during mating, feeding, or rising from a resting position on the ground. Everything about Tyrannosaurus is purposeful. Its skin is pebbled with rough scales. Some scientists believe it may have had sparse feathers in its youth, especially for insulation. It grows quickly from a small hatchling to a full-grown adult in less than 20 years. It dominates the late Cretaceous ecosystems of North America. Its prey includes hadrosaurs, ceratopsians, and possibly juvenile sauropods in isolated regions. Triceratops is its greatest rival. Fossil evidence shows healed bite marks on frills, broken horns, and crushed ribs. These battles were real. They were violent. They were a clash between nature's most advanced designs in herbivore defense and carnivore offense. But Tyrannosaurus does not rely on brute strength alone. It uses strategy. It may ambush its prey. It may scavenge when the opportunity arises. It may intimidate rivals with powerful vocalizations or visual displays. Its territory is vast. Its reign is undisputed. But it is not the only great predator of its time. In the southern continents, abelisaurs like Carnotaurus develop their own deadly tactics. They are smaller, faster, built for speed and striking force. In Asia, Tarbosaurus, a close cousin of Tyrannosaurus, becomes the top predator. These creatures all share a similar blueprint: reduced arms, massive jaws, and forward-facing eyes. They are the final generation of large theropods, refined by pressure, perfected by evolution, and soon to be gone. In the world of Tyrannosaurus rex, nothing is safe. It walks with confidence. Its presence reshapes the entire ecosystem. The herds move differently. Nesting sites shift to more defensible locations. Scavengers follow it like shadows. And when it roars, the forest holds its breath. This is no myth. This is a real animal. The culmination of over 100 million years of predator evolution. The king of the Cretaceous. A symbol of raw power, survival, and finality. And though its reign will be short in the grand scale of geologic time, it will echo forever in the fossil record. For decades, dinosaurs were seen as little more than lumbering lizards, slow, dull, and driven by instinct alone. But fossil by fossil, bone by bone, that simplistic image has crumbled, because behind those powerful jaws and massive bodies was something unexpected: intelligence. It did not come from a single species. It emerged across many different groups. Small predators, pack hunters, and even some herbivores began to show signs of complex behavior. Their brains, once thought to be primitive, reveal adaptations for memory coordination and sensory processing. One of the clearest indicators of dinosaur intelligence is found in the group known as the Maniraptorans. These feathered theropods include the dromaeosaurs, relatives of the famous velociraptor. They are not large, but their skulls reveal enlarged brain cavities. They have forward-facing eyes, giving them excellent depth perception. They have grasping hands, flexible limbs, and strong legs. And perhaps most importantly, they show signs of coordination. In fossil sites across Mongolia and China, multiple individuals are found buried together. Some appear to have died in the middle of a hunt. Others are buried alongside their prey. Were they pack hunters? Many scientists now believe so. They may have used strategy, flanking movements, ambushes, and like birds today, they may have communicated using chirps, clicks, body posture, or even color displays. Their feathers, beyond providing insulation or lift, could have played crucial roles in social behavior, mating, intimidation, or warning signals, and their brains were ready to handle it. But intelligence did not stop with the predators. Some herbivores show clear signs of advanced social behavior as well. The hadrosaurs, with their complex crests and vocal chambers, likely used sound to communicate over long distances. They traveled in massive herds, sometimes hundreds strong. Trackways show that the young moved in the center of the herd, protected by the adults. Some fossilized nesting sites reveal large communal areas, with evidence of multiple generations returning year after year. This suggests memory, social bonding, and even the possibility of extensive parental care. The eggs are arranged carefully. Some nests show signs of being tended to even after the young had hatched, and the young grew rapidly, staying close to the safety of the herd. The ceratopsians, like Triceratops, may have also formed tight defensive herds. Their frills and horns were not just weapons. They were likely visual communication tools. Individuals could have recognized each other by the shape, size, and pattern of their frills. Fossil injuries suggest head-to-head combat not just for defense but for dominance and mating rights. The ankylosaurs, though solitary in appearance, show clear signs of defensive intelligence. They positioned themselves to shield their vulnerable underbellies. They used their powerful tail clubs with precision. Some had directional hearing to locate predators before they could attack. And even the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex shows signs of more than just brute force. Its olfactory lobes, the part of the brain responsible for smell, are massive. It could track prey over vast distances. Its eyes face forward, giving it keen sight, and its inner ear structure suggests it could hear deep, low-frequency sounds, perfect for detecting distant footsteps or vocalizations. Juvenile tyrannosaurs may have even traveled in small groups. Some fossils show individuals of a similar age found together, suggesting cooperation or social bonding. In the oceans, the marine reptiles developed advanced navigation. Their brains evolved to process pressure, changes, magnetic fields, and water currents. The pterosaurs, too, show neurological structures that support balance, precision flight, and even complex aerial hunting strategies. But perhaps the greatest proof of dinosaur intelligence is not found in a fossil. It is found in their legacy, the birds. Modern birds are the direct descendants of small theropod dinosaurs. And birds are among the most intelligent creatures on Earth today. They solve puzzles, they use tools, they can recognize human faces, they sing, they mimic, and they build elaborate structures. If birds come from dinosaurs, and if birds are this intelligent, then the roots of that intelligence must run deep. Deinonychus, Troodon, Oviraptor, these were not brutes, they were thinkers. Some scientists believe that Troodon may have been one of the smartest non-avian dinosaurs. It had a large brain-to-body size ratio, keen senses, and nimble fingers. Had it survived the Great Extinction, its descendants might have become something even more advanced. But intelligence is not always about an evolution toward humans. In dinosaurs, intelligence was about survival, remembering migration paths, knowing when to nest, recognizing danger, coordinating in groups, passing on knowledge through behavior. This was not a world of chaos. It was a world of order built and maintained by creatures who thought, who learned, who adapted. They may not have built tools, but they built herds, territories, and family bonds. They knew their world, and they ruled it not just with strength, but with skill. As the Cretaceous skies widen with shifting winds and warming air, a new era of flight begins. The skies are no longer ruled by early gliders or primitive flyers. Now evolution sharpens its focus. The pterosaurs transform. The birds begin to rise. The competition in the air becomes just as intense as the battles on the land and beneath the sea. The rulers of the Jurassic skies were already impressive. But what emerges in the Cretaceous is something more refined, more efficient. The sky rulers too have evolved. The pterosaurs diversify into dozens of new species, each perfectly adapted for a specific niche. Some grow to massive sizes while others shrink. Their forms stretch across a spectrum of ecological roles. At one extreme, the giants emerge. Quetzalcoatlus. Although appearing in the late Cretaceous, it represents the absolute peak of pterosaur evolution. It stands taller than a giraffe. Its wingspan rivals that of a small airplane. Yet it is light, its bones hollow, a true master of the sky. It launches from the ground using all four of its limbs in a powerful vault. Then it catches the thermal currents to soar for hours on end. It does not flap continuously. It glides. Some believe it travelled hundreds of kilometers a day searching for carrion or small animals along the coastlines. But not all pterosaurs reach such sizes. Many remained small and agile, darting through forests or skimming over lake surfaces. Species like Pteranodon lost their teeth and developed long, sharp beaks for catching fish. They would dive, they would glide, and they would nest in large colonies on cliffsides. Others evolved complex and beautiful crests. Tupandactylus and Nyctosaurus display bright, exaggerated head structures. Their function may have included species recognition, mating displays, or even aerodynamic balance. These crests varied wildly. Some were thin and sail-like, others were broad and flat like a fan. These creatures pushed the limits of flight design, and while they dominated the skies, a challenger was quietly rising from below. The birds, true birds. The direct descendants of small theropod dinosaurs. These creatures are no longer just gliders or feathered ground runners. They are now true flyers. Archaeopteryx from the late Jurassic was a prototype, but in the Cretaceous, its descendants become far more capable. The Enantiornithes spread across the globe. They still have claws on their wings and teeth in their beaks, but their flight is true and sustained. Some nested in trees, others near the water. They flew through the forests over the rivers from one continent to another. Alongside them, the ornithuromorphs begin to appear. These are the ancestors of all modern birds. They evolve shorter tails, more efficient lungs, and stronger pectoral muscles. Their bones grow lighter, their feathers more complex. They begin to specialize. Some dive like modern cormorants, others skim the water's surface like terns. Some pick insects off the backs of large herbivores. Their brains grow and their senses sharpen. They are not simply surviving, they are thriving, and the sky becomes a crowded, competitive space. Pterosaurs and birds now share the same air, but their strategies differ. The pterosaurs dominate the open spaces. Their wings are vast. They can ride the thermals and sweep along the coasts. The birds are more maneuverable. They can dart through dense vegetation. They can turn tighter. They can land with more control. In time, the birds begin to occupy the niches that the pterosaurs once held, especially the smaller roles. Insect hunters, seed eaters, scavengers. The competition intensifies, and as the Cretaceous advances, the number of small pterosaur species begins to decline. Some go extinct, others evolve toward gigantism, moving away from the pressure of the bird competition. But the birds continue to diversify. They become songbirds, shorebirds, and forest birds. They begin to dominate in sheer numbers. Still, the sky remains balanced. The great soaring pterosaurs rule the heights. The agile birds claim the undergrowth and the canopies. Both groups evolve egg care, complex nesting strategies, and parental behavior. Some even begin to show territorial defense and group feeding. Flight has transformed more than just their anatomy. It has shaped their intelligence, their awareness, their memory. The sky has become a realm of strategy. And these creatures, both bird and pterosaur, are its champions. From the cliffs to the coastlines, from the treetops to the thermal updrafts, the air is no longer empty. It is filled with wings, with calls, with motion. The dinosaurs that took to the sky did not just adapt, they excelled. And some of them, the birds, will outlive all the others. When the last of the great beasts on land fall, they will remain. Because long before mammals rise and long before humans even dream of flight, the sky already belonged to the dinosaurs. For over 100 million years, Earth's plant life had remained mostly the same. Towering conifers, low-growing ferns, rigid cycads, and ginkgos ruled the prehistoric forests. They were ancient, hardy, and well-suited to the needs of the herbivorous dinosaurs. But in the heart of the Cretaceous period, the green world quietly rewrites itself. Something delicate, colourful, and revolutionary begins to bloom. Flowering plants, the angiosperms, make their debut. They arrive without fanfare. Tiny flowers nestled among shrubs, blossoms hidden beneath tree branches. They are not towering like the conifers, but they are swift, adaptive, and eager to change the landscape. Their appearance is one of the most important biological events in Earth's entire history. Before flowers, most plants used the wind to spread their pollen. It was a wasteful strategy. It was random. But the angiosperms attract partners. They form relationships with insects, with birds, and even with some small reptiles. Their pollen is not cast to the wind, it is delivered with precision. Bees and beetles land on bright petals, seeking out the sweet nectar. As they feed, they carry pollen from one flower to another. This partnership changes both the plant and the insect forever. Diversity explodes. New plant forms appear in rapid succession. Broad leaves, curled petals, and branching veins. The first true grasses begin to emerge. Shrubs spread quickly across the open plains. Even the trees adapt, producing fleshy fruits to house their seeds. The Cretaceous world becomes more colourful, more fragrant, more alive. And the dinosaurs respond. The hadrosaurs shift their diets. They graze not only on ferns and conifers, but also on these new soft plants. Their complex teeth allow them to process this softer, more nutrient-rich vegetation. They follow the bloom cycles, moving with the seasons, grazing where the angiosperms are most abundant. Small herbivores evolve sharper snouts and more precise bites. They can now nip at flowers and leaves with great accuracy. Even some omnivorous species begin to incorporate seeds and fruits into their diets. This plant revolution ripples upward through the entire food chain. The pollinators thrive. The beetles diversify. The first true ants form colonies near the flowering plants. Wasps become more specialized. The birds join the dance, pecking at seeds and sipping nectar. Flowering plants create pockets of life wherever they spread. They can colonize disturbed areas quickly. Valleys after a landslide, riverbanks after a flood, volcanic slopes after an eruption. They are fast growers, they are opportunistic, and in a world where the climate is unstable, speed is survival. The forests begin to shift in their structure. The tall conifers remain, but beneath them the flowering plants form new layers of undergrowth. The forest floor becomes dense and rich in variation. Entire ecosystems reassemble themselves around the angiosperms. The herds move differently. The predators follow these herds. Smaller animals begin to nest in the flowering shrubs. Seeds are spread through droppings through the wind and on the water. Many develop tough coatings that require digestion to germinate. It is an evolutionary partnership. The plants feed the animals carry the seeds. Both survive, both expand. This relationship changes the very tempo of evolution. The flowering plants evolve quickly. New species can appear in relatively short spans of time. They test new shapes, new colors, new structures. Some mimic each other. Some repel grazers with powerful toxins. Others lure them in with sweet, fleshy fruit. They adapt to altitude, to latitude, to soil, to drought. This diversity offers stability in an unstable world. If one plant species fails, another can fill its place. The food web grows denser. Energy moves faster through the ecosystems. The flowering plants rewrite the rules of reproduction, survival, and ecological interaction. They are the quiet architects of the late Cretaceous world, and their legacy will outlast the dinosaurs. After the Great Extinction, it is the angiosperms that will rebuild the planet's green skin. It is their seeds that will germinate first. It is their leaves that will feed the first returning herbivores. But before that day comes, they fill the Cretaceous with color and with complexity. They transform the scenery from simple greens to living tapestries. They feed giants and insects alike. They build the future of every forest, every meadow, every plain. And they do it without fang or claw, just with petals, pollen, and patience. For millions of years, the mammals had lived small, quiet lives in the shadows of the giants. They scurried beneath the giant ferns. They burrowed into the rich soil. They hunted by the soft light of the moon. The dinosaurs ruled the daylight, the open plains, the treetops, and the skies. But in the quiet corners of the Cretaceous world, something else was evolving. Something warm-blooded, something fast, something aware. The mammals were not newcomers. Their origins trace back to the late Triassic, emerging from the lineage of the synapsids. But for most of the Mesozoic era, they remained hidden, not because they were weak, but because they were patient. These early mammals were small, often the size of mice, rats, or squirrels. They lived in burrows, they climbed trees, and they fed on insects, seeds, and small prey. Their survival depended on avoiding attention. Their bones were delicate, their teeth were specialized, molars for grinding, canines for piercing. They were not just generic feeders, they were efficient, targeted consumers. They were active at night, their senses sharpened, hearing smell and touch. Many species developed whiskers, thick fur, and acute night vision. Some could even glide between the trees using membranes of skin. Others evolved webbed feet for swimming. The diversity of the mammals was slowly, quietly increasing. In the Cretaceous, this quiet ascent began to accelerate. the marsupials and the placentals began to emerge. The marsupials gave birth to tiny, undeveloped young, which would then crawl into pouches to continue their development. The placentals developed a more complex reproductive system, allowing for a longer gestation period within the womb. Both of these systems had their strengths. Both allowed for greater flexibility, and both led to longer survival rates for their offspring. These mammals began to appear in greater numbers across every continent. Asia, North America, and Europe have revealed fossil beds filled with their tiny jaws, teeth, and skeletons. They lived in the trees they dug into, the cliffs they nested under stones. Some were insectivores, others were omnivores. A few were tiny predators snapping at lizards, baby dinosaurs, and even bird eggs. They were resourceful. They were not dominant, but they were everywhere. The pressure of coexisting with the dinosaurs shaped them. They learned to hide, to climb fast, to detect vibration and scent with incredible precision. They learned to raise their young quietly and to defend their nests with ferocity. They had warm blood fur and a fast metabolism. They burned energy quickly, but they could also adapt to the cold better than most reptiles. This gave them a crucial edge in cooler regions and during periods of climate instability. Some species hibernated, others stored food. They were preparing not for a takeover but for survival. Because the mammals did not rise by conquest, they rose by enduring. They outlasted the disasters. They learned from failure, and they evolved to fill the gaps when other creatures fell. Even as the tyrannosaurs hunted and the hadrosaurs grazed, the mammals watched. And when the lights of the Mesozoic finally dimmed, they would be the ones to remain. But that moment had not yet come. For now they thrived in the margins, building their nests in the roots of giant trees, chattering beneath the songs of the crested birds, creeping silently while the armored giants shook the earth. The competition had begun not for dominance but for persistence, and the mammals were ready. They would never forget the world that was ruled by the dinosaurs. Because their own rise was forged in its very shadow, dinosaurs did not just survive in fertile valleys or tropical forests. They conquered deserts, mountains, swamps, volcanic plains, and even the polar regions. Their long reign was not the result of a single success. It was their incredible ability to adapt to Earth's most challenging environments that secured their place in history. From the frozen edges of the ancient continents to the scorching interiors of the deserts, dinosaurs found ways to thrive. In the Cretaceous polar regions, conditions were far colder and darker than most would expect in the age of dinosaurs. Yet fossils of herbivorous dinosaurs have been discovered in places like modern-day Alaska and Antarctica. Hadrosaurs and theropods lived there, surviving for months of near-total darkness during the polar winters. How did they do it? These dinosaurs may have migrated, moving south during the coldest, darkest months. Others may have remained adapting to the lower light levels, developing slower metabolisms and having increased insulation. Many paleontologists believe that some of these species possessed feathers not just for display but for essential warmth. The large eyes found in certain species suggest an adaptation to these dim environments. The dinosaurs in these regions did not hibernate like mammals, but they were incredibly resilient. They fed on hardy plants, mosses, and conifer needles. They likely moved in herds, sharing their body heat and protecting their young from the harsh elements. On the other end of the spectrum, the desert-dwelling dinosaurs faced an entirely different set of challenges: heat thirst and constant exposure. In regions like what is now Mongolia, dinosaurs lived in ancient deserts. Sandstorms raged, water was scarce, oviraptors, small, fast and clever, made their nests in the dry, open dunes. They laid their eggs in circular patterns carefully buried to shield them from the intense heat. Some covered their nests with their own bodies, their feathered wings stretched like blankets over the next generation. These creatures adapted not through size but through intelligence and dedicated parenting. They fed on anything: lizards, eggs, plants. They were opportunists, and they survived by moving quickly, staying hidden, and using the landscape to their advantage. Larger dinosaurs adapted to the deserts too. The therizinosaurs evolved long claws and beaked jaws for stripping vegetation. They could feed both high and low browsing on the tough desert shrubs and trees. Their bodies were built for energy efficiency. In mountainous regions, the dinosaurs adjusted again. The higher altitude brought thinner air, colder nights, and rough terrain. Many small dinosaurs evolved lighter skeletons and more flexible joints. Climbers emerged species that could scramble over rocks and scale narrow ledges. Their tails acted as counterbalances. Their toes spread wide for better traction. In the floodplains and swamps, dinosaurs developed a tolerance for water. Some had flat feet for moving across the muddy terrain. Others had nostrils positioned high on their heads, allowing them to breathe while partially submerged. Trackways found in ancient deltas show herds moving slowly through ankle-deep water, dragging their tails and wading toward their feeding grounds. The predators adapted too. Spinosaurus, with its elongated snout, conical teeth, and paddle-like tail, lived near the rivers and deltas. It hunted fish. Its long claws could grasp slippery prey. Its dense bones may have helped it to stay submerged. It was not just a swimmer, it was a specialist. Other carnivores adapted to the thick forests. They grew shorter and more compact. They stalked rather than chased. Camouflage became key. Muted colors, feather patterns, and silent movement allowed them to close in on their prey without making a sound. The herbivores responded by forming tighter herds. They developed sharper hearing and stronger social bonds. Alarm calls would have echoed through the trees. Even their nesting sites changed with the environment. In exposed regions, they nested in large groups. In hidden valleys, they nested in isolation using the dense vegetation as protection. Dinosaur eggs evolved to match their settings. Some had thick shells for dry climates. Others were thin and porous for humid forests. Even their shapes shifted round oval spiral, each design suited to specific conditions. This incredible flexibility extended to their feeding strategies. Dinosaurs evolved jaws for grinding, for cropping, for tearing, and for slicing. Some had cheeks to hold their food while they chewed. Others had beaks for precision. They were not limited to one type of food or one way of living. They adjusted to what their world demanded of them, and when that world changed, they changed with it. From the snowfields to the salt flats, from the windswept cliffs to the tropical coasts, dinosaurs did not just endure, they expanded. They became desert walkers, ice bravers, floodplain grazers, and canyon stalkers. Their adaptability was their greatest weapon, and it is one of the main reasons they lasted for so long. More than 160 million years, generation after generation, environment after environment, they never stopped finding new ways to live. The planet threw everything at them: droughts, volcanoes, floods, cold heat and darkness, and they met every challenge with evolution. They were not just creatures of the past, they were champions of resilience. As the Cretaceous period nears its final chapters, the world of the dinosaurs reaches its greatest complexity. Never before in the history of the Earth has life been so diverse, so widespread, so finely adapted to its environment. From the forests of what is now North America to the deserts of Asia, from the river deltas of South America to the mountains of Antarctica, dinosaurs occupy every corner of the planet. This is the golden age of dinosaur diversity. The herbivores roam in an astonishing variety. In the north, herds of hadrosaurs dominate the floodplains. Edmontosaurus, Parasaurolophus, Corythosaurus, each with their own unique crests, voices, and behaviors. They migrate in massive groups, their footprints pressed into the ancient riverbeds. Triceratops and its relatives graze alongside them. Horns clash in ritual displays of dominance. Frills flare in the sunlight. Ankylosaurs lurk in the low brush, their tails swaying like heavy clubs. Their armor glistens with the dust of 100 battles they never needed to fight. In the south, the titanosaurs reign supreme. Argentinosaurus stretches more than 30 meters long. Dreadnoughtus carries the weight of a small building on its 4 pillar-like legs. Saltosaurus, though smaller, carries osteoderms, bony plates embedded in its skin for extra defense. These massive herbivores move slowly. Their size alone is a fortress. They reshape the land with every single step, and among them, small grazers thrive. Dryosaurs, the Thescelosaurs, and their relatives dart between the giants, feeding on ground ferns and the newly evolved flowering plants. They are quick, alert, and always watching the shadows, because the predators are everywhere. In the north, Tyrannosaurus rex rules as the apex. Its presence alone can clear a forest. But it is not alone. Its cousins Tarbosaurus and Albertosaurus stalk the lands further west and south. In the southern continents, the abelisaurs rise to power. Carnotaurus, with its blunt horns and stubby arms, charges its prey with incredible ferocity. Majungasaurus bites and holds, twisting with brute force. In the forests of Asia, dromaeosaurs and troodontids hunt in packs. They are small, fast, and intelligent. They use their sharp claws and coordinated attacks. They chase their prey into ambush zones. Some use their feathers for display, for intimidation, or for camouflage. Others may glide between the trees. In the skies, the birds now number in the thousands of species. They sing, they dive, and they flash across the canopy. Some nest in trees, some feed in the open water. Their flight is no longer experimental. It has been perfected. They fill ecological roles that no dinosaur had ever touched before, and they compete with the pterosaurs. Yet even the pterosaurs are not gone. The giants, like Quetzalcoatlus, still soar over the plains, riding the thermals and landing only to feed. They are the quiet giants of the air, gliding over oceans, deserts, and forests. Beneath the waves, the mosasaurs rule the seas. They are muscular, long-bodied reptiles, with powerful flippers, double-hinged jaws, and shark-like tails. They chase fish, ammonites, and even other marine reptiles. They are the tyrants of the ocean. The plesiosaurs continue as well, snapping at fish with their needle-like teeth. And the marine diversity below the surface is just as rich as it is on the land. Coral reefs support complex ecosystems. Schools of fish glint in the filtered light. Shelled creatures crawl across the seafloor. And in every region, life has found its delicate balance. The planet has become a puzzle of ecosystems. Each piece fits perfectly. Every predator is balanced by its prey. Every plant feeds a web of herbivores. Every climate shapes a unique assembly of life. On isolated islands, evolution creates strange wonders. Dwarf sauropods, oversized predators, and flightless birds with predator-like features. Dinosaurs grow horns, spikes, sails, frills, and clubs. Some mimic leaves, others warn with their bright colors. Some become runners, others become diggers. The variety is not just wide, it is exquisite. This is evolution running at its full speed, and in the fossil record we find the evidence. Bones, teeth, feathers, footprints, eggs. Each one tells a story, and together they tell us this. Life was everywhere. It was vivid, it was intelligent, and it was at its absolute peak. Yet even in this golden age, a change was coming. Not from the predators, not from the climate alone, but from far, far beyond the sky. The age of dinosaurs had reached its highest note, and soon it would end in silence. When most people think of dinosaurs, they imagine solitary giants, cold-blooded, instinct-driven, roaming the land with no connection to their young. But the fossil record tells a far different and more complex story. Beneath the thunder of their footsteps and the flash of their teeth lies a softer truth. Dinosaurs were not just survival machines. Many of them were parents, careful, patient, and in some cases even nurturing. Parenting in the age of dinosaurs was as varied as the dinosaurs themselves. Some laid their eggs and moved on, others built nests, and a few remained to protect, to warm, and to raise their young. It all begins with the eggs. Fossilized dinosaur eggs have been discovered on every continent. They come in many sizes, some no larger than a quail's, others as big as a football. The shape of the egg matters. Elongated eggs are often linked to the theropods. Rounder eggs tend to come from the sauropods and ornithopods. The shells vary in thickness and texture. Some are hard and calcified, others are leathery and porous. These details tell us about their environments. Hard shells can survive better in dry, open spaces. Soft shells are better suited to humid, protected environments like buried nests or dense vegetation. The nests themselves reveal even more. Many dinosaurs arrange their eggs in neat spirals or concentric circles, often in shallow pits that they had dug into the soil. Some covered their eggs with sand, vegetation, or mud. They relied on solar heat or the heat of decomposition for incubation. Others, like certain oviraptors, may have remained near or even on the nest, using their own body heat to keep the eggs warm. An extraordinary fossil from Mongolia shows an adult oviraptorid crouched directly over a clutch of eggs, its feathered wings extended protectively. This single image frozen in time offers undeniable proof of parental care, but it doesn't end at the nest. Hadrosaur nesting grounds discovered in Montana and Asia show dozens, even hundreds of nests clustered closely together. The eggs are laid in orderly patterns. Hatchling fossils are found with developing bones and teeth, suggesting that they stayed in the nest after they were born. Some paleontologists believe that hadrosaur parents return to the same nesting sites each year, much like modern birds do. They may have brought food to their young. They may have defended them from predators. Trackways found near the nesting sites show tiny footprints alongside larger ones. Young dinosaurs walking with adults, moving in step, learning by following. These herds were more than just feeding machines. They were families. The crests and calls of the hadrosaurs were not just for show. They were part of a complex communication system. Deep calls may have signaled an alarm. Short calls may have been for gathering the herd. Parents and their offspring likely recognized each other's voices in a sea of noise and motion. The ceratopsians also show signs of family dynamics. Mass death sites containing dozens of Triceratops-like dinosaurs suggest that they lived and died together. Some paleontologists believe they formed close-knit herds, using their frills and horns for both defense and for social interaction. Young individuals often show faster growth in their limbs, indicating they needed to be able to move quickly to keep up with the adults. This suggests coordinated movement and protection. Even the sauropods, once thought to be entirely solitary, are now believed to have nested in large groups. Massive nesting grounds in Argentina have revealed thousands of eggs laid in dense clusters. Sauropods, like the Tyrannosaurs, may have returned to the same locations for many generations. The sheer number of nests suggests that these giants had some form of reproductive strategy beyond simple egg-laying. Some may have used the heat of the sun or geothermally active soil to incubate their eggs. Others may have covered their nests in rotting vegetation to generate warmth. And while the adult sauropods likely didn't stay to protect the individual nests, their strategy was one of strength in numbers. If you lay enough eggs, at least a few will survive. The theropods offer some of the most fascinating clues. The troodontids, closely related to modern birds, laid their eggs in paired sets. This suggests the use of two functional oviducts, a trait seen in some modern birds. Their nests were sometimes lined with vegetation or sand. Their skeletons show features that suggest brooding behavior, such as belly feathers and specific nesting postures. The embryos found inside some fossilized eggs are curled in positions that are very similar to modern birds, indicating shared developmental patterns. Raptors like Velociraptor may have guarded their nests aggressively. With their sharp senses and strong claws, they were more than capable of defending their offspring. Some theropods likely taught their young how to hunt, leading them to small prey or teaching them ambush strategies. These were not just monsters, they were caretakers. Mammal-like dinosaurs, such as some of the small ornithopods, show even deeper behavioral complexity. Burrows found with multiple individuals inside, including juveniles, suggest underground nests that were shared by family groups. These spaces would have provided shelter from the weather, from predators, and from fire. Fossilized feces known as coprolites found near these nests contain fragments of digested plants and insects. This suggests that the parents may have fed their young or at least shared a territory where food was easily accessible. Parenting also shaped their physical evolution. Dinosaurs that nested communally often developed better social cues. Visual display structures, crests, frills, coloration helped family members to recognize each other. Vocal cords and air sacs allowed for long-distance calls and varied communication. The larger the group, the more vital the ability to interact becomes. Parenting wasn't just about protecting the eggs. It was about guiding behavior, passing on survival strategies, and adapting together. This care extended to migration. Some species may have timed their nesting with the climate cycles, laying their eggs just as the food became most abundant. Others likely taught the routes to food, water, or safe nesting zones. This would have required memory coordination and even emotional bonds. Some of the most dramatic evidence for parenting comes from the mass nesting events. Entire valleys covered in fossilized nests, layers upon layers that were built year after year. It paints a picture of a life that was repeated over many generations. The smell of the vegetation, the sounds of the hatchlings chirping, the heavy footsteps of the returning adults. The Cretaceous Earth was not just a battlefield, it was also a nursery, a place where towering reptiles might have gently nudged their eggs with their snouts, where juveniles huddled beneath frills and feathers, where a single call could summon a herd to protect their own. This is not fantasy, it is in the bones. It is in the way the fossils are arranged in the growth patterns of their teeth, in the healed fractures of limbs that were once broken during youthful stumbles. The dinosaurs did not rule the world through strength alone. They ruled it by raising the next generation, teaching them to walk, to forage, to flee, passing down a legacy written not in books but in behavior. They were ancient, they were alien, but in their parenting we can see something deeply familiar, something that still echoes today in the nests of birds, in the watchful eyes of reptiles, and perhaps in the way we care for our own. In a world filled with danger, communication is survival. And for the dinosaurs that lived in herds, communication became a language of movement, of sound, of posture, and of presence. Some were massive walking tanks with tails like clubs. Others were swift grazers with crests that pierced the sky. But no matter their shape or size, when they moved together, they became something more. They became communities. And in these prehistoric communities, the ability to communicate determined who thrived, who protected their young, and who fell to the predators. Herding behavior appears early in dinosaur history, but it becomes most advanced during the Cretaceous period. The hadrosaurs lead the charge. Known as the duck-billed dinosaurs, the hadrosaurs traveled in massive numbers. Entire fossil beds contain hundreds of individuals, from small hatchlings to full-grown adults. They moved as one, and they did not move in silence. Many hadrosaur species developed elaborate cranial crests, hollow chambers of bone that were connected to their nasal passages. Species like Parasaurolophus had long tubes that curled backward over their skulls, forming natural resonating chambers. These chambers allowed them to produce deep, haunting calls, long, low notes that could travel over valleys and through dense forests. Scientists have used 3D models of these crests to simulate their sounds. The result is something like a foghorn-rich, low-frequency vibrations that could be felt as much as they were heard. These sounds were not random, they served specific purposes. To call mates, to warn of danger, to keep the herds together through dense vegetation or in the dark. Young hadrosaurs likely imprinted on their parents' calls the same way that modern birds and mammals do. This vocal recognition would have helped to keep the group organized, especially in large herds stretching for hundreds of meters across the plains. But communication went beyond sound. Posture mattered. The angle of the neck, the flare of the tail, the rise of a crest, all of these could signal emotion or intent. A sudden shift in body stance might mean that a predator had been spotted. A rapid stomp or a tail flick could trigger a stampede. These visual cues allowed for coordination without words. The ceratopsians, like Triceratops and Styracosaurus, had their own visual tools. Their frills were not just armor. They were likely used for display, flashing color patterns, signaling status, or expressing mood. Their horns, too, had social value. Fossil evidence shows wear and healed fractures that are consistent with horn-to-horn combat. These were not fatal battles, but tests of dominance. Ritualized fights like those seen in modern bighorn sheep or deer. The winners would lead, the defeated would submit or challenge again later. Within the herds, these displays would have reduced violence and helped to organize their social structures. Even the stegosaurs, long thought to be solitary, are now believed to have shown social behavior. Trackways suggest that multiple individuals were moving in the same direction, possibly as a cohesive unit. Their plates, once assumed to be purely defensive, may have been used for signaling. The plates are highly vascularized. Blood could have flowed into them, allowing for changes in their color. In times of threat or excitement, a stegosaurus might have been able to flush its plates bright red to intimidate a rival or to warn others. This kind of communication doesn't rely on language. It relies on visibility, recognition, and consistency. Herbivorous dinosaurs that lived in the open plains relied on movement to stay coordinated, just as the wildebeest and zebras of today's world move in great waves across the savanna. The Cretaceous herds moved in fluid formations. They traveled in lines, in curves, and in spirals. Some paleontologists believe that these patterns helped to regulate the group's behavior, positioning the juveniles in the center and flanking the vulnerable with stronger adults. Predators like Tyrannosaurus likely learned to test the edges of these herds. They would have targeted the stragglers, the weaklings, or the sick, but the herds had their own defenses. A sudden burst of noise, a rapid turn, a wall of horns, or a tide of powerful tails. The message was clear: this is not a lone target. This is a community. Even their footsteps communicated. Fossilized trackways show consistent stride lengths, rhythm, and spacing. They walked in sync, and sometimes they ran in sync. Stampedes that would have left gouged ground and crushed vegetation in their wake. Smaller dinosaurs had their own social structures. Hypsilophodontids and thalassalosaurs likely formed flocks. They fed together, they rested together, and they alerted each other to threats with chirps or sudden motion. The juveniles would have remained with their parents or siblings for extended periods. The survival rate of these animals increased significantly when they lived in groups, and for the predators, communication was just as vital. Packs of dromaeosaurs may have hunted cooperatively. One would flush out the prey while the others would intercept. Vocalizations, eye contact, and posture could have been enough to coordinate the ambush. In the pterosaurs and the early birds, calls and dances played important roles. Mating displays grew more complex. Some waved their crests, others bobbed their heads or spread their wings. These behaviors were not simply for reproduction. They reinforced the bonds within the flocks between the species, between the mates. Sociality had arrived. The dinosaurs were not machines. They were individuals in a society, sometimes chaotic, sometimes ordered, but always interactive, and the rules of that society were shaped by communication. Some herds moved for hundreds of kilometers with the seasons. They followed the water, the plants, and the warmth. The ability to communicate over long distances to maintain the group's structure was critical. When they were nesting, their calls organized the colonies. When they were traveling, their body language kept the juveniles in place. When they were threatened, their herd behavior could overwhelm their attackers. Some of the strongest evidence for dinosaur communication comes from the mass fossil sites. Bone beds in North America, Asia, and South America contain hundreds of individuals that were buried together. They did not die alone. They lived and they died in groups. Some sites even preserve their behaviors frozen in time. A group huddled together in death, a parent protecting a juvenile, a row of individuals standing side by side facing the same direction. Perhaps they were waiting, migrating, or resting. We will never know their words, but we can read their patterns. And their patterns speak volumes. The dinosaurs spoke not through syllables, but through signals. And in doing so, they built social worlds that were just as rich as the ones we know today. Herding meant survival. Communication meant coordination, and the sounds and movements of the dinosaur world shaped the land as surely as their footprints and their bones. As the Cretaceous period continues, the Earth begins to stretch and pull apart. The single landmass that once connected the world, Pangea, is now long gone. In its place are drifting continents separated by growing oceans and shifting climate belts. This separation does more than just redraw the coastlines. It triggers one of the greatest experiments in all of evolution: isolation. When land masses fragment, species can become trapped in their own isolated ecosystems. Unable to migrate or interbreed with their distant relatives, they begin to change. Driven by the local climate, terrain, and food sources, these isolated dinosaurs follow their own separate evolutionary paths. North America splits from Europe, South America drifts westward, Africa pulls away from Antarctica, India moves toward Asia. Australia and Antarctica stay linked for longer, but they too gradually drift apart. This movement is slow, measured in centimeters per year, but over millions of years it transforms everything. In North America, isolation allows for the rise of iconic species like Tyrannosaurus rex and Triceratops. These dinosaurs become highly specialized, shaped by the intense competition and a stable landmass that is rich in prey and plants. The hadrosaurs dominate the floodplains. The ankylosaurs perfect their armor. The tyrannosaurs grow larger, smarter, more efficient. No other place on Earth gives rise to predators quite like those in North America. In South America, something very different happens. There, the sauropods never disappear. In fact, they flourish. Giants like Argentinosaurus, Dreadnoughtus, and Saltosaurus walk the ancient pampas. They grow longer, heavier, and more armored. Even as other continents see the decline of the sauropods, South America becomes their final stronghold. Alongside them, the abelisaurs rise. Carnotaurus, with its deep skull and vestigial arms, becomes one of the most specialized predators on the planet. Its short snout can deliver bone-crushing bites. Its powerful legs are built for speed. Its strange horns may have been used in ritual combat. These predators are nothing like the Tyrannosaurs. They evolve in complete isolation without ever crossing paths. Their designs are solutions to entirely different evolutionary puzzles. In Africa, the diversity is high but more fragmented. Spinosaurus emerges as a river hunter. Long-jawed, fish-eating, and possibly semi-aquatic, it defies comparison with other theropods. Its massive sail remains a mystery. Perhaps it was used for thermoregulation for display or for balance in the water. Other predators like Carcharodontosaurus fill the more traditional apex roles, hunting large herbivores across the inland deserts. The herbivores themselves include the Rebbachisaurids, the Dicraeosaurids, and various iguanodonts. In India, which is still an isolated landmass by the late Cretaceous, the dinosaurs take on unique forms. Rajasaurus, a short-snouted abelisaurid, becomes the region's top predator. Its fossils are rare, but they suggest adaptations for powerful bites and territorial combat. India's isolation prevents the migration of the northern predators, allowing the abelisaurs and the titanosaurs to remain dominant. In Europe, the land is fragmented into a chain of islands. This leads to insular dwarfism, large dinosaurs evolving into much smaller forms due to the limited resources. Magyarosaurus, a tiny sauropod from what is now Romania, is a perfect example. It retains the body plan of its massive ancestors, but it is no larger than a modern cow. Predators like Balaur show odd limb structures, perhaps adapted for island stalking or for climbing. Island life shapes everything differently. In Asia, particularly in what is now Mongolia and China, a different kind of innovation unfolds. The evolution of the small theropods accelerates. Feathered dinosaurs become more common. Velociraptor, Oviraptor, Microraptor, Sinornithosaurus. These are agile, smart, and possibly social hunters. They live in varied environments, deserts, forests, river valleys. Many show signs of nesting, brooding, and parental care. Asia becomes the birthplace of the birds. In fact, the greatest diversity of feathered non-avian dinosaurs is found here. Some have wings, but do not fly. Others can glide. A few take to the air entirely. The boundaries between dinosaur and bird begin to blur. This evolutionary pressure, amplified by environmental change and competition, creates forms that are never seen elsewhere. Antarctica and Australia, though less explored, hold their own secrets too. Their shared landmass supports cold-adapted dinosaurs. Some hadrosaurs and ankylosaurs evolve to live in months of darkness. Their eyes are larger. Their metabolism may be more efficient. They are not tropical wanderers. They are the survivors of harsh climates. As Antarctica begins to freeze and Australia pulls away, new forms emerge. But much of this world remains buried in ice or rock waiting to be uncovered. Continental drift doesn't just affect the land animals. It reshapes the ocean currents, the weather systems, and the sea levels. New coastlines form. The inland seas rise and fall. Isolation occurs even in the marine environments. Mosasaurs diversify in the western interior seaway of North America. In Europe, different forms evolve in the shallow tropical lagoons. This pattern of divergence through isolation happens everywhere. It accelerates evolution. It forces species to specialize. Without competition from global predators, the local creatures dominate. The dinosaurs become more varied than ever before. Horns twist into new shapes. Crests elongate, flatten, or spiral. Tail clubs grow thicker. Armors become spiked, plated, or fused. Feathers lengthen, shift, and form new patterns. Colors change to match their environments. Behavior shifts with the geography. Some become migrators. Others become territorial defenders. In the fossil record, we see this story etched in bone and in stone. There is no longer just one dinosaur world. There are many, each a chapter of evolution written on a different continent. Each species is a response to a unique set of challenges. When the asteroid comes, it will not strike a uniform world. It will strike a planet of incredible diversity. And that diversity, while beautiful, will not be able to stop what is coming. But until that moment, the continents breathe life into forms that were never before imagined. The dinosaurs were not static. They were travelers, adapters, and inventors molded by time pressure and separation. Continental drift scattered their legacy across the globe. And in doing so, it gave us a world more varied, more spectacular, and more alive than anything before or since. It is the twilight of the Cretaceous period, and yet the world is far from quiet. This is not a fading age, not a world winding down. This is the final crescendo. This is the last age of giants. By now, the Earth is rich with biodiversity. The continents have drifted far apart, creating ecosystems that are as distinct as they are abundant. The dinosaurs have reached their peak in form, in function, and in complexity. And in this final stretch of their long reign, the giants walk taller, they hunt harder, and they live louder than ever before. In North America, the land is split by a vast inland sea dividing the continent into western and eastern halves. On the western side lies the land of the last titans. Here, herds of Edmontosaurus roam the floodplains. These duck-billed hadrosaurs move in massive numbers, leaving behind trails of footprints and fossilized impressions of their skin. Their heads carry no crests, but their social structure is highly advanced. They graze, they travel, and they raise their young as cohesive units. Among them moves the armored Ankylosaurus. Low to the ground, broad and covered in bony plates, it is built like a living tank. Its tail ends in a solid club of bone, a weapon capable of shattering bone and warding off even the most determined predator. And lurking in the shadows of the forest, stalking the herd, is the undisputed apex predator of the aged Tyrannosaurus rex. It is not the first tyrannosaur, but it is the most refined. 20 feet tall, 40 feet long, and weighing more than 8 tons. It is power incarnate. Its jaws are filled with banana-shaped teeth designed not just to kill but to pulverize. Its bite force is among the strongest of any terrestrial animal in Earth's history. It hunts alone or in mated pairs, and it dominates its environment with a combination of speed, intelligence, and raw force. Farther south in what is now Mexico, the forests are dense and hot. Horned dinosaurs like Torosaurus and Pachyrhinosaurus browse among the cycads and flowering plants. Their frills are massive, their horns varied in size and shape. These features are used not only for defense but for mating displays and for recognition. Across the seas in Asia, Mongolia's deserts hold their own giants. Tarbosaurus, a close relative of Tyrannosaurus, stalks the sands. Oviraptors guard their nests that are built among the dunes. Protoceratops graze in the sparse vegetation, often falling prey to the clever and agile velociraptors that hunt in packs or in pairs. The climate is warm but fluctuating. The seasons are more defined. Flowering plants now dominate many of the landscapes, feeding a growing diversity of herbivores. In South America, the titanosaurs remain dominant. Saltosaurus, Alamosaurus, and other sauropods roam the semi-arid plains. Though smaller than their Jurassic ancestors, these giants are still awe-inspiring. Their sheer size provides their protection, while their massive herds shape the land with every step. Predators like Abelisaurus and Carnotaurus prowl nearby. Their shorter snouts, reduced arms, and deep skulls make them uniquely terrifying. Europe is a land of islands. Smaller species evolve here, dwarfed sauropods, nimble theropods, and compact herbivores. Insular dwarfism shapes everything. The resources are limited. Survival favors those who can adapt quickly. In India, still isolated from the rest of the world, a unique ecosystem thrives. The titanosaurs dominate the herbivores, while the predator Rajasaurus stalks the land. Its stubby horns and powerful build reflect its adaptation to its particular corner of the Cretaceous Earth. Antarctica and Australia, which were joined for part of this period, hold dinosaurs that were suited for colder climates. The polar hadrosaurs grew larger eyes. Some may have had seasonal behaviors such as long migrations or torpor-like states during the dark winters. The skies are alive with birds and pterosaurs. While many pterosaur species have declined, some of the giants remain, Quetzalcoatlus among them. With a wingspan stretching over 10 meters, they glide over the coastlines and plains, searching for carrion or for prey. The birds have diversified into countless forms. Some dive, some perch, some race across the ground in pursuit of insects. Beneath the seas, the mosasaurs dominate. Their long, muscular bodies and double-hinged jaws make them the undisputed rulers of the ocean. The plesiosaurs continue to thrive in the deeper waters, and the ammonites still drift in the currents, some growing large and elaborate. On the surface, everything appears to be balanced. The dinosaurs are not declining, they are thriving. But deep beneath the calm, the earth is rumbling. Volcanic activity is increasing, particularly in what is now India. The Deccan traps begin to erupt. Massive basalt flows pour from the fissures, releasing huge amounts of gases into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide levels fluctuate. Some regions experience warming, others cool. The seasonal instability increases, yet the dinosaurs adapt. They have faced worse. They move, they change, they survive. But then, one day, a new force enters the story. Not from beneath the earth, but from high above it. For now, they do not know. For now, they walk the land unaware. This is their last age. The last time their footsteps will shape the world. The last time their calls will echo across the continents. The final chapter of the greatest reign in terrestrial history. This is the world on the edge of extinction, and the giants have no idea what is coming. It begins with a light, a sudden blinding unnatural light streaking across the sky. In the final days of the Cretaceous, one bright object races toward the Earth at an unimaginable speed. The animals do not know what it is. They only sense the unnatural stillness. The birds go silent. The herds pause their grazing. The sky itself seems to shimmer, and then it hits. An asteroid more than 10 kilometers wide slams into the shallow sea near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The force of the impact is beyond all comprehension. It releases more energy than billions of nuclear bombs. A fireball expands faster than the speed of sound. Shock waves race outward across the globe. The ocean boils. The very crust of the Earth cracks. Molten rock explodes skyward. Vaporized seawater rushes into the stratosphere. The impact creates a crater more than 180 kilometers wide. Debris rains down across the entire globe. The sky fills with fire. The forests ignite. Animals are incinerated instantly. But this is only the beginning. The true killer is what follows. Ash dust and sulfur aerosols fill the upper atmosphere. They form a thick sun-blocking veil that wraps around the entire planet. For months, sunlight can barely penetrate the atmosphere. Photosynthesis stops. The plants wither and die. The food chain collapses from the bottom up. What was once a lush, vibrant world becomes dim, cold, and quiet. Temperatures plummet. Acid rain falls. Famine spreads across every continent. The giants suffer first. The massive herbivores who were dependent on vast amounts of plant matter begin to starve. With them go the predators. Tyrannosaurus, Giganotosaurus, Abelisaurus, all of them fall as their food sources disappear. The nesting grounds are abandoned. The eggs lie cold. Juveniles cry out in the darkness with no answers. In the oceans, the mosasaurs and the plesiosaurs perish as the marine ecosystems break down. The plankton dies, and with it all the creatures that feed on them. Entire food webs unravel. The vibrant coral reefs bleach and collapse. The ammonites, once the most widespread marine invertebrates, vanish completely. On the land, wildfires rage, consuming entire forests. Smoke and soot add to the choking sky. The acidification poisons the rivers and the lakes. The volcanic eruptions in India continue to pump more gas into the air, worsening the crisis. This is no single catastrophe. It is a chain reaction of destruction, a global system failure. And most of Earth's great creatures do not survive it. The age of the dinosaurs, after more than 160 million years, comes to an end. Some fall in hours, others last for days, weeks, or months. A few cling on for years before disappearing, but by the end they are gone. The sky clears eventually. The sunlight returns, but it finds a different world, a quieter world, a broken world. Over 70% of all species on Earth are gone. The land is still. The oceans are empty, and the sound of dinosaur calls no longer echoes across the valleys. Yet not all life vanishes. Some of the birds survive. small seed-eating species that were tucked into burrows or deep in the forests. Their descendants will one day reclaim the skies. The mammals survive too, tiny, furry and adaptable. They scavenge, they hide and they endure. Insects survive, reptiles, amphibians. From the ashes, the story continues. But the chapter of dinosaur domination has ended, not with a slow decline, but with a sudden, violent punctuation mark written in stone and in fire. In the rocks, a thin layer of iridium-rich clay marks the moment. It is found all around the world, in the mountains, in the deserts, and in the sea cliffs. A fingerprint of extinction, a scar from the sky. This was the impact that changed everything, and in its silence the stage is set for something new. The age of dinosaurs ends. The age of mammals begins, but the memory of the giants does not fade. They are etched into the earth, preserved in stone and whispered through the bones that still sleep beneath our feet. They ruled the world not by chance but by brilliance. They walked in herds, they cared for their young, they adapted, they survived and they thrived, and when they vanished they left behind a planet that was forever shaped by their presence. This was their world. And for over 160 million years they ruled it completely. In the aftermath of the asteroid, the world is a graveyard. The age of dinosaurs has ended in fire and silence. Yet not every dinosaur perishes, a few survive. Small, feathered and airborne. From the ashes of the great extinction, a new kind of ruler rises to claim the skies. The survivors are not the great horned ceratopsians or the massive sauropods. They are not the armored ankylosaurs or the terrible tyrannosaurs. Instead, it is the unassuming creatures, lightweight, warm-blooded, beaked and adapted for a life in the trees that endure. They are the birds, not just the descendants of the dinosaurs. They are dinosaurs. They carry the lineage of the theropods in their bones, in their feathers, in their eggs and in their behaviors. They are what remain, and they are the beginning of something entirely new. How did they survive when so many others did not? The answer lies in their biology, their habits, and perhaps a little bit of luck. First, their size. Most of the surviving birds were small. This meant lower energy requirements, faster reproduction, and greater adaptability. While the giants starved, the smaller animals could survive on seeds, insects, or carrion. Second, their diet. Many of the early birds were omnivores or granivores. They could eat a variety of different foods. Seeds, in particular, are hardy. They can survive for long periods buried in the soil. The seed-eating birds could weather the months of ecological collapse when the green plants had disappeared. Third, their nesting habits. The birds built their nests in trees or in burrows, often well protected. Some could incubate their eggs with their own body heat, maintaining stable environments despite the cold outside. Fourth, their mobility. Wings gave the birds a unique advantage. They could flee the wildfires, they could relocate, and they could seek out refuge more easily than the land-bound animals. Even the flightless birds could run or hide with great agility. And finally, their social behavior. Many birds live in flocks, they communicate with calls, and they display cooperative instincts. This made them highly adaptable in the chaotic conditions. Fossil evidence shows that a group of birds called the Neornithis, or modern birds, survived the extinction. They then split into multiple new lineages. Some remained as ground dwellers, others returned to the trees, some became water birds diving for fish, others spread to the open skies. As the ecosystems recovered, these birds exploded in diversity. They radiated into every niche that had once been occupied by the pterosaurs, the small dinosaurs, and the insectivores. In the forests, the songbirds began to evolve. Small, light, and agile, they fed on seeds, insects, and fruit. Their colours became brighter, their songs more elaborate. They became the messengers of life's resilience. In the wetlands, the waterfowl evolved. Ducks, geese, and waders with long legs and filtering beaks. They adapted to the shallow lakes, the swamps, and the coastlines. Some fed on aquatic plants, others hunted small fish or insects. The birds of prey took to the skies. Hawks and eagles evolved keen eyesight and sharp talons. They ruled the skies with speed and with precision. Their ancestry traced back to hunters like the dromaeosaurs and the troodontids. On the islands, the flightless birds appeared. Without predators, some birds lost their ability to fly and grew to large sizes. The moas, the elephant birds, and the dodo would one day emerge echoes of a world that had once belonged to the titans. And in the oceans, the seabirds emerged. With their webbed feet, strong wings, and specialized salt glands, they colonized the open seas. The albatrosses, the gulls, and the penguins evolved in waves. Everywhere that life returned, the birds were there. They were the first to repopulate the burned forests, the first to nest in the cliffs and the trees, the first to sing after the long silence. They carried not only their own legacy, but the legacy of those that had come before. Inside their skeletons are hollow bones, light and strong, just like their theropod ancestors. Inside, their feathers are pigments and patterns that are descended from the coats that once warmed the raptors on cold nights. Inside their eggs are embryos that are coiled, just like those of the ancient dinosaurs, and inside their brains are memories coded by evolution of how to hunt, how to hide, how to build, and how to fly. The modern birds are more than just survivors. They are transformers. They took the ruins of a fallen world and they built something new. Today, there are over 10,000 species of birds. They live on every continent, in every ocean, on the highest peaks, and in the deepest caves. They cross the deserts, they circle the poles, and they sing in the middle of our cities. They can navigate by the stars. They can remember distant lands. They can pass knowledge down through the generations. They are the living legacy of the age of dinosaurs. Watch a crow solve a puzzle, see a falcon dive. Listen to the song of a thrush echoing in the forest, and you are hearing the echoes of a time when the earth shook beneath the feet of giants. The birds are the final chapter of the dinosaur story, but they are also the next chapter in the story of life. In their wings is freedom, in their bones is a history that was written in stone. In their calls is a reminder that even after the fire, the ice, and the darkness, life finds a way to rise again. They did not inherit the earth by brute strength. They inherited it by being ready, by being small, by being smart, and by never giving up. And because of them, the spirit of the dinosaurs still soars across our skies. The dinosaurs are gone. The skies that were once ruled by the pterosaurs now belong to the birds. The seas that were once dominated by the mosasaurs are quiet. The forests, the plains, and the mountains lie still. And in that silence, something stirs. Small, furry, and alert, a creature emerges from its burrow. Its nose twitches, its ears swivel, its eyes scan the sky. The world it steps into is broken, but it is wide open. This is the world after the dinosaurs, and it is ready for something new. The mammals have arrived. They were always here, quietly thriving in the shadows. During the age of dinosaurs, the mammals lived underground in the trees and in the dark. They were small, rarely larger than a rat. They avoided competition, they kept to the edges of the ecosystems, and they waited. Now their time has come. With the dinosaurs gone, so too are the giant herbivores and the apex predators. The forests regrow, the skies clear, and the food web begins to rebuild. And the mammals are ready. Why did they survive when so many others did not? Part of the answer lies in their biology. The mammals are warm-blooded. They can regulate their own temperature, allowing them to survive the freezing winters that followed the impact. They give birth to live young. There are no eggs to abandon, no nests to leave vulnerable. Their young develop inside, the mother protected and nourished. This gives their offspring a better chance of survival in a dangerous and unstable world. The mammals also have fur. It insulates, it protects. It helps to maintain their body heat during the long periods of cold and darkness. And the mammals are smart. Even the earliest ones show signs of advanced brains, complex senses, and social behaviors. They can remember food sources. They can navigate their territory. They learn quickly. But most importantly, the mammals are adaptable. They can eat anything: seeds, roots, insects, small animals. They can dig, they can climb, they can swim, and they can run. They can hide when needed. They can defend themselves when necessary. After the extinction, the mammals begin to evolve with incredible speed. This is known as adaptive radiation. When a group of organisms diversifies quickly into new forms to fill the now vacant ecological roles. Without the dinosaurs, those roles are everywhere, and the mammals rush to fill them. Some grow larger. Within just a few million years, new species emerge. Herbivorous mammals that can browse and graze like the early relatives of deer and horses. Carnivorous mammals with sharp teeth and fast reflexes like the early creodonts and mesonychids. Omnivores that can scavenge, dig, and adapt to anything like the ancestors of raccoons and bears. In the trees, the primates appear. Small, grasping creatures with forward-facing eyes. They leap, they climb, and they communicate. They form bonds, they live in groups, and they pass on their learned behaviors. They are not dominant yet, but they are watching. Some mammals return to the water. Pachycetus, a small land-dwelling carnivore, begins to hunt near the rivers. Over many generations, its descendants adapt to an aquatic life. Their limbs become flippers. Their nostrils migrate upward. Their bodies become streamlined. Eventually, these animals will evolve into the whales and the dolphins, the largest mammals to ever live. Others become burrowers, digging through the soil, eating roots and hiding from predators. Some will evolve into moles. Some will become armadillos or anteaters. Everywhere you look, the mammals are rising. On the plains, the hoofed mammals spread, fast runners with strong teeth and social herds. They will evolve into antelopes, horses, rhinos, and elephants. In the forests, the rodents multiply. They gnaw, they nest, and they build. They evolve quickly, becoming one of the most numerous groups of mammals on the planet. The bats appear taking to the skies. No feathers, just skin and bone stretched into wings. They hunt insects and later fruit. They become one of the only groups of mammals that are capable of powered flight. The marsupials evolve in isolation. In Australia, they come to dominate. The kangaroos, the wombats, and the koalas rise to take the roles that other mammals hold elsewhere. The world becomes a stage for mammalian innovation. Where the dinosaurs once ruled by size, the mammals rule by intelligence, speed, and adaptability. And they do not stop. They explore new behaviors. Tool use, complex social structures, vocal communication, long-term memory, emotional bonding. They become caregivers, hunters, builders, and thinkers. Their brains grow larger. Their senses sharpen. Their societies become more advanced. And among them, one branch will begin to walk upright, to use fire to paint on cave walls, to tell stories of the thunder lizards and the gods in the sky. Humans are not yet here in the age of the mammals' rise, but the seeds have been planted. The traits are forming. The legacy is building. The dinosaurs are gone, but their world is not forgotten. It shaped the land, the oceans, and the climate. It set the rules that the mammals now play by. And within the mammals, something of the dinosaurs still survives. A shared ancestor, a spark of resilience. The mammals are not just lucky survivors, they are nature's next great experiment. An answer to a world that now demands flexibility, learning, and cooperation. They do not roar like the Tyrannosaurs, they do not tower like the sauropods, but they will leave their own mark, a mark that is just as deep, just as enduring. And in time they will look back across the millions of years and uncover the bones of the giants. They will wonder who came before them. They will piece together the story, and they will realize that we walk in the footsteps of the titans who ruled before us. The mammals inherited the world, and with it the memory of everything that came before. Millions of years have passed. The world has changed beyond all recognition. The continents have moved again. The oceans have shifted. Ice ages have come and gone. And yet the legacy of the dinosaurs is all around us. They may be gone as the rulers of the earth, but their story did not end with their extinction. It continues in the stone, in life, in the air, and in us. Walk into a museum and stand before a skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus rex. You're not just looking at ancient bones. You're staring at a memory that has been locked in rock. Every curve of a rib, every tooth, every claw. It tells a story of evolution, of struggle, of survival. The dinosaurs built the ecosystems of the Mesozoic. They shaped the landscape through their migration, their grazing, and their hunting. They formed the foundations for the modern world. And even though they disappeared, their legacy remained in ways that most of us never realize. In modern birds, the most direct link to the dinosaurs is still alive. Every chirp, every flap, every nest is part of that inheritance. The beak, the wishbone, the hollow bones, all of these carry the design that was forged in the theropods. The very act of flight was perfected long before planes ever existed. And it was the dinosaurs who taught the sky how to sing. Watch an eagle soar. See a hummingbird hover. Listen to a robin's song. You're not just witnessing nature, you're watching the evolution of the dinosaurs continue in real time. But their legacy doesn't end with the birds. It extends into the Earth itself. Many of the world's great fossil beds were formed during the age of the dinosaurs. They preserved not just bones, but skin imprints, feather traces, eggs, nests, footprints, and even droppings. These windows into the past allow us to reconstruct their behavior, their movement, their color, even the sounds of the Mesozoic. The geology of the dinosaur extinction, the thin layer of iridium that was left by the asteroid impact, forms a global marker. Scientists use it to separate two great eras, the Cretaceous and the Paleogene. It's a boundary between worlds, between dominance and survival, between what was and what came next. The extinction of the dinosaurs made space for the mammals, and eventually for us. But we did not replace them. We inherited the world that they had shaped. Even in modern biology, the dinosaurs have taught us critical lessons. They showed us how life can grow to massive sizes, how ecosystems can balance their predators and their prey, how evolution can tinker with bone and with muscle to create horns, sails, crests, and armor. We use dinosaur anatomy to understand biomechanics, how muscles attach, how joints move, how weight is distributed. These lessons help engineers to design better machines, robots, and even prosthetic limbs. In paleontology, the study of the dinosaurs has advanced science itself. Technologies like 3D scanning CT imaging, isotopic analysis, and molecular biology have all grown because of the efforts to study these ancient bones. These tools now help us to study human diseases, the fossils of early humans, and the climate patterns from the deep past. The dinosaurs changed the way we think about extinction. Before their discovery, few people believed that entire species could simply vanish, but the fossil record proved otherwise. It revealed that the Earth is not static. It's a planet in constant transformation with winners and losers in every era. The dinosaurs taught us humility. They were here for over 160 million years. They built complex ecosystems, they mastered the land and the sky, and then they vanished in a geological instant. If they could fall, so could anything, even us. Their fossils inspire wonder in children, their skeletons fuel the imagination of artists and filmmakers. Their story drives scientists to dig deeper, to ask more questions, to dream bigger. They are not just creatures of the past, they are symbols of life's potential. They are emblems of nature's power and reminders of its fragility. In our culture, the dinosaurs have become legends. They've taken root in our mythology, our storytelling, our cinema, our video games, and our art. They bridge the gap between science and fantasy. They are both real and larger than life. From Jurassic Park to classroom posters, they live on in our collective memory. Every time a new fossil is unearthed, a piece of their world returns. Each new discovery, a tooth, a claw, a footprint, adds another word to their story. They are still teaching us, still shaping us, still reaching across time. And perhaps their most profound legacy is how they changed our place in the universe. They remind us that the world was not made for humans. We arrived late to the party. The dinosaurs walked this planet, they ruled it, and they left their mark long before we ever appeared. Their reign was not measured in centuries or even in millennia, but in epochs. They thrived while the continents drifted, the climates shifted, and the oceans rose and fell. They adapted, they diversified, and when they were gone, the Earth kept turning. They show us that life is bigger than just one species, that nature is resilient and brutal and beautiful all at once. They teach us that extinction is real, but so is rebirth, that endings can lead to new beginnings, and in that truth there lies hope. Today, as we face our own environmental challenges, as we alter the climate, deforest the land, and pollute the seas, the story of the dinosaurs stands as both an inspiration and a warning. They did not die because they were weak. They died because the world changed faster than they could adapt. Their story is a lesson that is written in stone. Adapt or disappear. Respect nature or be humbled by it. The dinosaurs are gone, but they are not forgotten. They walk with us not in body, but in history, in science, in our imagination. And every time a bird takes flight, every time a child holds a fossil, every time someone wonders what came before them, the dinosaurs live again. They are more than just fossils. They are time travelers, messengers from another world. Not just a world that once was, but a world that still echoes in everything that we are. This was the age of dinosaur domination. It shaped the planet. It shaped life, and its legacy lives on in the rock, in the bone, in the sky, and in the hearts of those who still look up and wonder.